since so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again, you gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
The Buffalo Bills are 1-0, and they get there in dramatic fashion. A 15-point comeback capped off with a game winner from Matt Prater. Bills quarterback Josh Allen had this to say on the win in the postgame.
It took everybody there. I'm just proud of our team for staying in it. No one on the sideline blinked. I mean, down 15 points with 5-6 minutes left, staying with it. Fans leaving, the stadium. You got to play this game for 60 minutes, and that's a really good outfit that we just played, and God willing, we take care of business how we're supposed to and how we think we will. It's probably a team we'll see again.
Allen was in MVP form last night, just under 400 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns, and within that, Allen also became the Bills' all-time leading rushing touchdown scorer after passing Thurman Thomas. No players did leave the game with injuries. We'll get a better look at that, though, heading into the week. Sean McDermott and the coordinators will meet with the media in just about an hour starting at 4 p.m. And next up for Buffalo, on the road versus the Jets Sunday at 1 p.m. Week 1, though, we'll finish up with Monday Night Football tonight. Bears host the Vikings. Kickoff at 8:15. Our coverage right here on WGR will get underway at 7. The 49ers made some moves. Right tackle Colton McKivitz signs a 3-year, $45 million extension. $27 million of that is guaranteed. They also bring in wide receiver Kendrick Bourne on a 1-year deal. The Giants will continue to roll with Russell Wilson at quarterback against Dallas. Head coach Brian Daboll did confirm that today. And Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says wide receiver Xavier Worthy is considered day-to-day with a separated shoulder. Rehab and wearing a brace are the expectation, but surgery is still a possibility. And stream your local NFL games all season long, kicking off with a Week 2 matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $2.50 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Gonna hand it off to Henry, and he's bottled up. The ball is out. It's loose. Who's got the football? It's Buffalo ball at the Baltimore 30-yard line.
Pass off to our defense and, the last 3 or 4 drives, playing some big boy football. That's a really, really good offense. It's a really good team.
It's Mike Schopp.
Allen reaches over the goal line, and he is in. He went high side this time instead of low, and he punched it in for the 1-yard touchdown run.
Great win, and they're hard to come by. That locker room, man, they kept playing, those guys, and coaches kept coaching. Wasn't pretty at times, and got a lot to learn from this game, and it's always good that you can learn after a win than after a loss.
And the Bulldog.
Down to 3 seconds. Here's the snap. Hold is down. Kick on the way, and it is good. And Matt Prater, in his first game as a Buffalo Bill, has won the ball game here in Week 1. The Bills were down by 15. In the fourth quarter, they come all the way back to win the game at the gun.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Is it possible that somebody listening right now just found out that they won? Does everybody know yet? I mean, I know what kind of world it is. You kind of know everything immediately, but there were people, including someone you know well, who didn't know until today.
Right.
That's forgivable.
My wife spent the evening, the balance of the game, in her attic studio. She got a big weekend coming up at Borderland, and I had friends over, and she did not know. This morning, we awakened at the same. I think she was actually working. She's sleeping now because she's working overnights. Anyway, we met in the hallway outside our bedroom at about 7:45 this morning when I got up, and she was coming downstairs from her attic studio to go to bed, and said, I'm sorry the Bills didn't win. And I was, hon, they came all the way back. It was incredible. She's like, how did I not hear you screaming? I'm like, well, one guy left at 40-25. He just like, it's Sunday night.
Listen, if you're out there being shamed today for leaving early, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the game, but I'm easy to talk into leaving early when it's Sunday night coming up on midnight, and it's almost definitely over, just not definitely.
Right.
So you can get me there.
So it's, I don't know, it's almost 8 hours later that my wife learned that they had won the game. It's possible. Someone just didn't know and didn't check and is surprised. So maybe we're the ones telling them.
Good for you.
I doubt it. If you're listening to this show, you probably know they won.
It's possible, I suppose. Football Monday on WGR, brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com. What a first game for the stadiums last year. You know what was funny to me? I thought about this today. Last week, just kind of randomly like we do, I asked you, is there any Bills winning final score that would upset you? And you said no. And I'm like, 2-0. And you're like, no.
Fine.
Then I said 2-1. And this is funny too, struggled to explain how you can get 1 point, other than on an extra point, in a football game. And so I blew that. We almost had it last night. On the 2-point play that is at Hamilton, he intercepts the pass and laterals to Van Noy. And Van Noy comes out of the end zone and takes a knee. If he takes a knee in the end zone, I think that
would have been a point, but it would have been preceded by a touchdown. So it's still the part of the conversation I remember the most is that can you just get 1 point?
Yeah, that's how you could have gotten 1 point.
but it would have.
After it was a 2-point play.
Right. So I wasn't going to have 1 as my score, is what I'm saying. I don't know that there's a way to have 1 as your score.
Well, anyway, I don't need to butcher it again. But what was funny to me is like, all right, what if last week in that conversation I would have said 41-40?
What? Yeah. Well, I mean, you could have, I suppose. I mean, you could have picked any score you want, 2-0, even 2-1.
From an entertainment standpoint, 41-40 is a home run.
Right. You would never be. I don't think. Maybe people are really mad about the defense out there.
I don't know about really mad, but you would be right to wonder what they are.
Be concerned, sure.
I mean, they got run over in this game.
Yes, they did.
And I mean, what's funny about last night? I mean, it might be a game we never forget. If you stayed up, I guess. I mean, it's great matchup, opening night. It'll go down in the annals, this game. For most of it, how was your mood?
I was pretty sour.
You know? Like, man. All right, so a little bit of revenge on Baltimore's side. Oh, we know Derrick Henry can be a problem. You know Lamar can be a problem. And, like, they just could not. For the second game in a row against this team, they couldn't stop them at all.
I spent way more time than I would like during the fourth quarter prior to the Bills, getting the first touchdown and then the turnover, and then thinking about what I was going to be saying about it. If they lose the game 40-25, whatever, whenever the score was there, or maybe it even gets worse than that before it's over, like how do you want to frame this? And I like to try to just watch the games and not be thinking about this as much. But when a game gets like that, that's where my mind goes. My mind goes like, how am I going to manage this, right? Like, what do I want to be heard saying about all of this? And so that was mostly what I was doing when the comeback started, was thinking about, long season, too bad Kansas City lost. You could have put this team down 0-1-2, but, long year, just get your boots on, schedule eases up, yada, yada. And that inherently makes me feel depressed. If I'm thinking about that during a game, I'm pretty bummed out. So I was pretty bummed out for most of the second half of this game.
Well, you could say all that, but then really have the conversation about what their defense is going to be. I mean, that's the Ravens. And so I'm sure if they lose the game like that and we go hard at like this defense, this could be bad. This could be the first Bills one of these seasons where their defense is really down. And, that would have been met with a lot of, but it's Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And really the outcome of the game is different, but the conversation is still there. Like just what that's going to be, but it's Baltimore. I mean, I don't know. We'll get to it. It's only Monday, but the Jets did kind of just do the same thing to Pittsburgh yesterday. They lost too, but
they ran for almost 200 yards.
They ran it easily through Pittsburgh. So anyway, that's not where we are. We've said it so many times, games like this, even without like the comeback piece, the Bills just do important little things, details, better than the Ravens do. And I thought there was something I made a note of right in the first quarter in this game where the Bills get the opening kickoff. They start at about midfield or right at midfield, and they're driving, and they get to 3rd and 7. And a Baltimore lineman jumps, and Spencer Brown stands right up immediately, 5 free yards, 3rd and 2, and that's automatic for this team. Touchdown, right? Ultimately touchdown. Baltimore goes the other way, and they're driving, and a Bills linebacker, I forget who, shows blitz by sprinting to the line, but he stops at the line. Like, he might be trying to bait Baltimore into a false start, and just like, that's not going to be what happens every time. But like right away, compare and contrast, you've got one team that, Brown has to have that instinct. That's preparation. Like you wouldn't always want to jump. It's not always obvious to the officials or how soon is the snap coming where you might be like, it's too late. Different things might be in your mind there. It might be interesting for Eric Wood, although he was a center and didn't have that particular, challenge. But still, like, on it right there, 5 free yards, ultimately a touchdown drive. And after, I don't remember what happened on the play that I mentioned when the Bills were on defense, but Jackson takes a big sack on that drive, and they end up kicking like a 52-yard field goal or something to score. So just the details. And of course, Baltimore has really made a habit of, for as good as they are, losing games like this. I mean, I think that's the big takeaway from last night overall in the league is like the Ravens again, like as good as, look how good they dominated.
Yeah.
And I mean, they didn't run that many plays because they were so efficient. Like, you can't blame them for that. It was more like the Chief playoff game here where it was just sort of like, kind of easy.
Yeah, I think I read that it's their 6th loss like that in maybe in the Jackson window, whatever it is. It's like with some window of time here, the last 5 or 6 seasons, they've lost 6 games with that kind of a lead in the fourth quarter.
Win probability. Where their win probability is in the 90s or something like
right.
that. The Raider game a year or two ago, there's a pile of them.
Well, I'm mostly, I bet a lot of fans have already said this amongst themselves, and maybe the morning show guys said it or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of talk by the time we get on the air here at 3 o'clock, but it's awfully nice to have a game that's being talked about already after only 1 week's worth of games, minus one that goes tonight between the Vikings and Bears, to have a game that is qualifying as game of the year worthy, and the Bills didn't lose it. Yeah. Because we had our fair, going all the way back to the divisional round in 21 in Kansas City. You've got the Eagle game from a couple of years ago. They've had these examples.
Jefferson.
Right, Justin Jefferson. These games that are just sort of, I cannot believe the ride this game is. What a game. Oh, you lost. So they at least got that going for them and for us too. So it's certainly a much different scenario than, if we'd been wildly entertained by a comeback that just falls short. Like somehow Kyle Hamilton actually gets his entire hand on that football, because I think he touched it. I don't know
field goal?
Yeah, I don't know if he talked about it after the game or was asked, but man, the first replay I saw of it, even before NBC left the air, I thought, geez, that looks like it just flicked off just the very littlest bit of his hand.
Oh, my gosh.
Might have been an optical illusion, but it was so close.
To lose like that
right.
would have been incredible.
Yes. And
that's like the Denver game a little bit.
Yeah. And, I don't want to say, too typical, but we've got our share of these heartbreaking, I can't believe they found a way to lose that game of the year type games. And so if that had happened, oh my gosh, right? I mean, it'd just we'd be on fire over here.
Allen's now beaten the Ravens twice in his career, kneeling out the last series to set up the winning field goal. He did that in a game in Baltimore a few years ago also. Yeah, I mean, it's a great win. It's an incredible start to the season, almost unbelievable what that game was. I think you can and I'll want to talk about like what went wrong for them in that game. Like I don't want to put it as like if the end doesn't happen, because the end happened. Like that isn't to be like sort of disregarded. But for most of this game, you say like you were thinking about what you might want to talk about. What would that have been? Like defensive, there were already questions, but this opponent is the wrong opponent if you're sort of not all the way where you want to be defensively. The receivers, Coleman ends up, one of their touchdowns late was Coleman. He ends up with a big night. And that's a great sign for them. And there was a lot of talk about whether that was going to be coming this year, and that's off to a great start. Did we have that with 5 minutes to go?
No, I think
really.
Almost all of that. I think he only had one catch prior to the fourth quarter. I think he had 11 targets in the game, and 10 of them, I believe, were in the fourth quarter. So,
that's crazy.
I mean, that really popped there.
Allen threw for 251 in the fourth alone.
Right. And scored 2 rushing touchdowns if you want it. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah.
It's like almost a player of the week performance in the fourth quarter.
One quarter.
But yeah, Coleman, when we talked about everything, obviously, for months, but even in the week leading up to this game, about a number one emerging, like what happens with the receiving core, what do they really have there? And when we talked about Coleman, I think it was like, if we could just get like a 7 for 120 and 1, like that would feel really good. That'd be a really positive sign, and you got pretty close.
That was it almost exactly.
It took until the very end of the game for it to happen, but he got there. So that's encouraging. The fact that Allen was going to him with the game on the line like that might be the most notable thing about it. I mean, the most notable thing about it is that he came through and made these plays, and together that hookup worked. But the fact that Allen is targeting him 10 times in that quarter when they're trying to mount that comeback, I think is encouraging for Coleman's emergence.
They're just, I know that this is putting it very simply, but they're just so tough to beat. I used to talk about Serena Williams when she was in her prime, and a lot of, great rivals and, major championships. I was watching tennis then. I'm really not anymore. It's a big deal in our house. And so we'd watch all these slams, and there's Serena Williams. And there were lots of times when one of her many great rivals looked like they had her, and you could fall for it. Like in wrestling, in wrestling, there's probably going to be some dramatic twist at the end. In tennis or in football, you just don't know that. So lots of times she was on the ropes, but they couldn't beat her. When it was a big one, she would figure out a way to do it. And that's these guys. Yes, there are a handful of games that were amazing that they didn't win, and they still have the playoff hurdle, and that doesn't change at all yesterday or today, except for that maybe Baltimore's reputation is just that much more enhanced by losing this game. Sort of takes you back to the playoffs and brings up their failures. But that's Baltimore. This team, their last home loss is that Denver game with Ken Dorsey was calling plays. They're just so tough to beat. Think about last year. They lose 4 games. The Ravens pretty much clobbered them. And the Bills have only a couple of those, Yep. When they lose, it's usually close. So they've only had a couple of those through the years. The Texans game was kind of a fluke. They were in pretty good shape in that game. Even though they couldn't do anything, they still just had a 60-yard field goal, and just a couple of things went wrong. It's the Rams.
That was almost a game of the year candidate.
Yes, 44-42
right.
is the Rams score. They give up a blocked punt touchdown, but really are unstoppable and still lose that game. And then it's Kansas City in the playoffs, which doesn't get much closer than that. They're just so tough to beat. And they don't have comebacks, though, really. They don't have a lot of these where, Allen isn't John Elway for having the reputation of they're a couple, but still,
right.
This one is different in that way. They're just so tough to beat. Well, I don't know. I wasn't thinking about the show so much before the game was over, but when it was over, I was up for 2 hours. I wrote down one thing. If this team does not win the Super Bowl, it's criminal. That might be an overstatement, but how does a team, either of these teams, it's a worse loss than it is a great win. You can't lose a game where you're up
15 with 4 minutes to go.
They even had the ball with the 15-point lead in the fourth quarter and went 3 and out.
Right.
So, wow. Both these teams, you could say that. They could say that about themselves. How can we not? Fans are the ones to say it. How can they not win? That's what last night left me with. Just sky's the limit.
Yep.
New season. Kansas City, not great. Who's even tomorrow's power rankings? Who's even number 3? It could be the Chiefs because it's the Chiefs and it's one game. But Cincinnati had 7 yards in the second half against Cleveland. That's not their defense.
7
That's their
yards.
offense.
Yeah.
And they were super lucky to win on a couple of missed kicks. Denver was terrible in their game, but Tennessee was worse.
Right.
Chargers? I don't know.
I'm not going to be inclined to elevate Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
Off of what they did to Miami.
That happened fast.
It really did.
It's not Miami. They could be 16 tomorrow in that thing. Yeah. They might be. So, all year, right? You're talking about how we spent our summer. You still got to wait until January, but you've got the Chiefs and you've got the Ravens, and then maybe you have Cincinnati, maybe you have Houston. How about Houston? 9 points. Terrible.
Yep.
Dysfunctional on offense. Everybody's kind of terrible right now, except these two. And you beat them. So you've got a game and a half on Baltimore because of that, if it comes to that.
Well, that's
huge.
It really did. As the weekend, really by Friday night, once Kansas City lost. I think I know how most of the week I think I sounded like I'm bracing for a downer of a Baltimore poured a lot into it. It's a long season. You even asked at one point last week, who's it worse? Who's a worse loss? Whoever loses, who's it worse for? And I said Baltimore, even though they're on the road, because they seem like they're pouring everything into this. They want revenge and all this, and it was going so great. But man, you get the opportunity with the Chiefs losing. Yes, there are other teams in the conference who are 1-0, but really, the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills still, to me, are the top 3 teams in the conference. And to have an opportunity to put the other 2 both in the same hole, it's not a deep hole, but it's a hole. You have a leg up on them, and you're in pole position. It might take a lot. If it were an F1 race, you got the lead into the first corner, and maybe that's all you need. As long as you don't, as long as your lug nuts don't come off, you're going to maybe have a pretty good drive. And I don't think the Bills are going to have an easy drive to the 1 seed, but to be ahead of those 2 teams and with a head-to-head tiebreaker already on one of them was a great opportunity this early in the season. And it sort of amped up the anxiety going into the game for me. Because I was kind of sort of passively, long year, let's not worry about it, just September. It was sort of my mindset all last week and leading into the game. But once Kansas City lost, that shifted for me. I was like, there's more pressure here now. Go get this one and, see how long it lasts, but let them chase you for a while.
Yeah, you rarely have an easy path to the 1, but they might have another easy path to the division. The Dolphins, that's a dumpster fire, meme. The Jets, I'll move over to emojis. They're the emoji where you sort of put your finger on your lips and tilt your head And the Patriots were awful. And we said about how, Miami, everybody was negative on Miami, and they were right. Horrendous. Worst performance in the league yesterday. Had to be. Patriots were not supposed to be. Everybody liked the Patriots. Right. It was sort of, we're buying it. And, yeah, not good there at all. So it could be, here's Sunday, and, you win at the Jets, what are we looking at? Then it's the Dolphins and the Saints. Wow, what a outcome last night. How it turns what the conversation would have been into, not entirely, but into such an optimistic one. All right, Football Monday on WGR. Eric Wood is back with us this year for however many years it's been. It's been a long time, but Eric joins us Mondays at 4 Eastern, and we may talk to Sal later too. Hope to hear from you next at 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Just go to this won't be hard. Just search it. Just hello, phone, where is Mighty Ducks Game Changers? Disney Plus. Great. Look how easy that was. Go to Disney Plus, not there. Only the trailer.
Oh, boy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All the other Mighty Ducks things are there. The show has never sounded older.
Yeah,
the show has
I know.
The best. Now I'm going to get defensive. Just point out that my daughter is 13. All right? I can't be that old if I'm not Larry King. Now the show really sounds old. Who's that? Seattle. Has the show ever sounded older? Seattle in the NBA Finals.
F-.
I like this point. F- to me seems like just, like a cartoon.
Right.
Not a real.
Yeah,
F is the lowest.
Yeah, it was like Bugs Bunny the teacher. What are we doing here?
F-.
The show ever sounded older.
The Bengals food.
See, kids, Bugs Bunny was a cartoon character. I did see the Scouts play in Buffalo. Yeah, I saw a Kansas City Scouts game as the show ever sounded old.
Well, I'm going to be mad about this, but I'm not going to sacrifice my jersey number for it. Matthew Golden, that's taking it pretty seriously. So I went through thinking about numbers.
I think I like 22 on a wide receiver.
Bob Hayes.
Yeah, works.
Hey, can you think of another one?
No. That's why I like it.
Has the show ever sounded older?
To me, 22 doesn't strike me. Well, certainly Bob Hayes. It does not strike me as a slow number. It's one of the. He was like an Olympic 100-yard dash champion.
That was his brand.
No, never.
Did you ever have to write it down?
Yes.
And figure out the math with a pencil?
Yes.
The show has never sounded older.
Yes.
It's about to sound older when I get to the next thing.
I think I knew how to do that at one time in my life, but I have long forgotten.
Word. Parker. The throw, if you don't know it, 79 All-Star game. The throw from right field in the Kingdome. The Kingdom is the show ever sounded older than the Kingdom reference, I think. And that because 24-16, 192. The show has never sounded older than that as a pitching stat line for a season. 24-16,
Right.
192, 41 starts, 20
40 decisions.
40 decisions, 29 complete games. How many leads the league now? 5?
3, 5, yeah, I don't know. It's so rare.
Everybody got a memo in their mailbox. He typed it out, printed it out. I mean, has the show ever sounded older? Printed it out.
Lane traffic person, like it's their traffic cop on the runway.
I had no idea listening to him the whole time. Like it's just I don't remember an interview that sounded like that before. Like what is happening right now? Is he on the tarmac? That's a word, right? That's an actual word. Is he on the tarmac and planes? He's sort of doing this. Sorry for the radio listeners. You know, this move right here, just waving in planes and this is heavily in favor of the viewers right now. Me doing this and not talking. Well, it turns out he's just walking around. It is the Windy City. In his defense.
In his defense,
It is the Windy City. Like what?
Well, it's just something I wanted to tell him. I know we don't know each other that well yet, but I just want to let you know, I know I just got here, and it may not be perfect right now, but I'm going to do everything I can to try to be perfect. Just help this team win while I'm here.
Matt Prater, nice little debut. 3 for 3 on field goals, including the game winner. Matt Prater, 2 extra points as well. Not a given anymore. Loop missed 1. So Baltimore is up 15 on that last Henry touchdown, and they go for the extra point. Could have gone for 2 there. These teams should always go for 2 because look how good they are. How do you stop? What kind of odds would you give the Bills or the Ravens on a 2-point play? The Bills go 0-3.
Right, I was going to say, they can't be stopped.
And the Ravens in the playoffs went 0-2, right? I don't know. I always want to see it. 15, they're going to have to. They didn't. I should just stop because your math is they're going to have to make a 2-point play once, and they're probably not going to try it twice. They're just going to try to tie you. That's what teams do. Get to 17. 3 scores. Well, the Bills did score 3 times. 3 touchdowns. Well, 2 touchdowns and the field goal to win it. So, anyway, math kind of went out the window on this game, I guess. 0-3 on the 2-pointers. Crazy game. Amazing night. The Bills take it over the Ravens. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here on WGR. Eric Wood in half an hour. Let's talk to Dave here. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are you? I want to give a little bit of a message, I guess, to the fan base out there. It seems the Bills have picked up fans all over the world. A lot of new, generations and so forth have come on. But I've watched as a fan some 55 seasons. This team, although they didn't win the Super Bowl, they own a title that they will never, ever lose, and that has to be the most dramatic team in NFL history. Every single game, whether it's a loss or a win or wherever it is during the season, it's going to be a game that you're going to want to watch every minute, and you're going to want to take a nap afterwards. But you just can't count them out after watching that in person, that comeback game, some 30-some points. It just seems like this team can put the pedal to the metal whenever they need to, or they can maybe do just enough wrong to make it a nail-biter. But I would just say that you're not wasting your time when you watch the Bills. And I think the defense has taken a bad rap for this last go-around here because Josh doesn't have a chance to come back if they don't shut him down late, And Derrick Henry, he sees a little daylight. He's gone like a hot rod pickup truck. That guy is amazing. But I just think the defense or the whole team as a whole, made it happen in the end. And I'd say for the Bills fans that you're not wasting your time to watch them. It's a thrill a minute and give them a chance. So that's all I got.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Justin's next. Hi, Justin.
Hey, I am one of the guys who left early last night. So you're talking about what are we going to talk about if this game goes wrong? I got about a 15-minute walk to my car. And I'm not a caller into the radio guy, which is ironic because I'm currently calling into the radio.
You are.
I'm thinking about why I'm so mad and all the things I'm angry about. And then I get to my car and I hear that we're in the game. I'm just blown away. What drove me absolutely nuts was if we go back to the very beginning of the game, we drive down the field, we score. Ed Oliver gets the sack. We hold him. We are our second drive. Great first down. We are in 2nd and 1.
Yep.
Run up the middle, 4th and 3, punt. Yep. I thought the offensive play calling in general was just so vanilla and boring until it couldn't be anymore, until they had to spread it out. And, I know we give Joe Brady a ton of credit. He's done a good job. But I thought last night, come on, man. Just how good our offense can be, how good the pieces we have, whether it's Cook, whether it's the line, whether it's Josh. What are we doing on some of these play calls? The entire first half.
Yeah,
that's what drove me nuts.
I think that's
agree.
Entirely fair. Yeah, there was a lot of that quick stuff at the line of scrimmage early in the game, and it really. You'd want to really fact check this, but the perception I have is similar to the caller. They at gunpoint started throwing the ball down the field because they were down and they had to, and go figure. Josh Allen ends up throwing for almost 400 yards with 250 of it coming in the fourth quarter when you were chasing it. So
also the end of the half.
Sure. So hopefully they learn, and credit to them for going at the end of the half. That was 25 seconds. Some of the stuff that's burned me about McDermott in past years is not always the same stuff that burns everyone, but not letting him try to get you points, steal a possession there, steal a field goal, and they got it. I mean, they just barely got it, but they got it. And none of that happens if they just, all right, let's just regroup, right? Let's not make a mistake here. Let's just get to the locker room and stop the bleeding for now. So credit to them. Hopefully they learned something about, I don't say what they're capable of. I'm sure they know what they have to some extent, but man, get the ball down the field. Will you please? Like, it would stand to reason that Baltimore would be guarding against that more so at the time the Bills were successful doing it, wouldn't it? And yet it still worked. I mean, you just had precision. The throw to Palmer is just a perfect throw. To me, reminiscent of the one against the 49ers in Arizona back in 20. Like, just that precise. Not the exact same kind of throw, but, like, maybe quickly when you first see it, it's not the most impressive thing. But then the more you watch it, different angles, you're like, man, you just had to lay that right. It's not too much air. It's not a laser. It's just sort of in between, and it's just right.
How about the ball that Johnson misses?
Right.
The left pylon.
That's a perfect throw.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, it's a Ravens point, not a Bills point, but that is definitely a takeaway here. I mean, Baltimore's getting destroyed for, again, blowing a game with such a high chance of winning, and it's strategy. You know, it's like how it's Jackson too. It's not just coaching, but like decisions that are made in the final minutes of these games are highly questionable, and it costs them. But it's, you know, everybody's so enamored of their team. They're everybody's favorite roster, or the Eagles, you know, but the Ravens are described differently than the Chiefs are, and the Bills are. Like, well, Baltimore has the most good players, and you can't get a stop. Like when they needed it last night, the defense is so good. Get a pressure, or, you know, somebody makes a play in the secondary, a couple of pass breakups. But nope, that did not happen. So it's not just that Henry fumbled. It's not just that they punted at the end and those kinds of things. When it came to the end of the game, they were unable to do anything, you know, for a team that gets so much credit. Isaac is next. Hi, Isaac.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hi. I wanted to know if I could just criticize Brandon Beane a little bit. I want to say, besides drafting Allen and trading for Diggs, there's nobody else on the team that, like, really excites me. Like, you know, the other teams in the mix, like the Ravens and Eagles, they got playmakers all over the field, and the Lions too. You know, there's just superstars everywhere. And other than Allen, like, I don't know, nobody really excites me like a Barkley or Derrick Henry. Like, I don't know. I just want to know your guys' thoughts on that. That's it.
What matters more than the record? What matters more, no offense, how many players excite you or how many games they win? Like, sure, I just sort of made this point about Baltimore. Like, they get this credit for their roster depth and the Bills don't, and I think it's mostly fair. Playmakers is an interesting word. So the Eagles and I guess the Ravens have players you'd consider playmakers on defense. And the Bills likewise their guys would not get the same credit, especially with, you know, Hyde and Poyer gone. It's different than those teams. Offensively, name them. Let's hear the list. Baltimore, Philadelphia. Let's hear the list of how many playmakers. It's about the same. And if the Bills actually get there with Coleman, or even Kincaid, but like Coleman is pivotal to this. And then you can say Cook if you want. I mean, Cook still doesn't play half the snaps, and he kind of had a typical Cook game. The caller before about play calling, that second possession, it was Cook inside, 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, like he said. I tweeted, like, shocking that didn't work. I mean, just he's what he is. But he is explosive, and he
showed you that
last night too.
Yeah, that was a huge play in the game.
So Coleman might be the tipping point for the playmakers thing with this team.
Kincaid, I think, looked really good too in this game. Like, just running. I think the film is going to be kind to him. Well, I mean, we'll see what everybody says about that when it all gets poured over. But right away, there's an early, maybe on the first drive of the game. I'm not sure now if it's that drive or not. He absolutely is mauling a defensive back at the sideline on a play. Like the play goes right between he and this Ravens player and the sideline, and he is just murdering this guy. And I felt like that was, I don't know, you can pour too much into a single rep, right? But Kincaid, we need him to be stronger. You know, he's got to be a little more physical, durable. That certainly worked. He looked very sharp to me, running routes and making plays. I mean, he didn't do a ton in the game, but It was a great catch in traffic on the first touchdown. I mean, he was getting sandwiched by two guys there. It's a better throw than it is a catch, but still, the catch was not nothing.
Right. Nico is with us. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Great game last night. I stayed till the end. I feel like that has to be said. You stayed or you didn't. But I was watching Dalton Kincaid the entire game, and when he's on the field, he seems dominant. Like, he seems like he's winning his matchups. That first play was beautiful. It seems like Josh looked at him, threw it to him, he caught it. It was a touchdown. Everything that happened, it was great. But he's never on the field. I don't understand why Dawson Knox is starting over him. I know that they said something about run blocking, but when you're down, I just couldn't understand why they wouldn't want him on the field. It seems like I don't know what their plan is with Kincaid, so I'm just curious if you guys saw that or...
Yeah, no, that's what it's been, and that's kind of what it was last night, too. I guess I don't have it down what the distribution was as the game got late because, I mean, they're losing all night, but they're not out of reach. So they'd want to be their offense. They'd want to run their offense. And the question with Kincaid has always been, well, at whose expense does he play more? I think he's more sort of what Shakir does than he is what Knox does. But that doesn't have to be right. That might be different now. But it is correct that Knox played more than Kincaid last night. Kincaid was 51% of the snaps, and even like his route percentage isn't good for somebody that you'd want to get better numbers from. That doesn't mean he can't help you. But I think it was like 60% of the routes, and for a guy that plays his role, if you will, like his style, that's not really promising, but it's one game. I don't know not to get cocky, but if the Jets are really still the Jets, it could be a long time before we get any new intel on the Bills. Because it's Miami and then New Orleans after that, New England at home, Atlanta, Carolina. All those teams lost, who do they play first that won yesterday? Kansas City lost. I'm to week 10, and everybody on their schedule is 0-1. Am I missing one?
Tampa week 11 is the right. Jets, Miami, New Orleans, New England, Atlanta, Carolina, Kansas City, Miami, Tampa. Tampa's the first team that won.
Tampa in week 11 is the next Bills opponent that has a win so far. Then Houston, which looked terrible the following week. The Browns are in here. I don't know, man. We once in a while somebody brings up, was Ross Tucker even someone to talk about this, like holding back your stuff?
Mm-hmm.
This could be more of a year for that than last year was. And I said back to that point this offseason, well, last year was the time for that because you ran away with first place and you could do that. You were chasing Kansas City. Possibly this year you don't have that challenge. I don't know. That win might end up being so important for both of those teams that, the loss for the Ravens. And it feels like it kind of sets up that way. Eric Wood at 4, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Or one of our favorite days, April Fool's Day. I wonder if those chairs in that conference room down the hall will be completely just moved all around the room tomorrow. What do you think the chances of that are? Shh. I know, brilliant, right? He said the one time, so he walks, so do I, during breaks, just stretch the legs. And he was saying about how he walked into that conference room, just sort of takes a loop, but it started to bother him that the chairs were not perfectly situated. Like they were just a little bit not perfectly back together. The family at the restaurant just left, and the staff isn't back yet to sort of redress the scene. So what did he say? Like he would put the chairs back, or he didn't even want to go in there anymore because the chairs weren't like properly. So I haven't told anybody this yet, but for like the last 2 months, once or twice a week, I'll just go down there and move all the chairs around. I've been a little bit wondering if hey, welcome back. You good?
Look, shook is what I am. Do you want me to tell the whole? You've opened the door, buddy. Here it comes. So I walk around during the breaks, and we don't have the biggest office, the biggest floor, but and I could go out. I have a way to get in and out, but I do laps around our offices during the breaks, and a part of that is there's a large conference room with, 15, 16 chairs around it, big table. We have meetings in there sometimes, and that's like the end of my loop. I loop through that room or walk around the table and then come back here. And I got in the habit when I was doing this in the winter of tucking the chairs into the table, in part because I'm a lunatic and I like to have everything look symmetrical, and so I want the chairs to look. But it's also to protect myself. At 5 o'clock on a Wednesday in the winter, it's dark in there, and if I go walking through there, it's pitch dark. The shades are closed. I'm going to trip and fall on a chair that's askew. So
terrible.
I've gotten in the habit of tucking the chairs in. So 45 minutes ago, I took this walk. And I went through that room, and I didn't have to tuck any chairs in, and it's not as big an issue now because it's light out until we're off the air.
You can see your way around.
I can see my way around if there's something in my way. But everything was neat. Like, all the chairs were tucked in. It was fine. I didn't have to move anything, and I just walked through and came back. And then just now at 4:58 or whenever we went to break, I got up and walked around, did the same loop, and there were like 10 chairs as askew in there as I've ever seen. Like, somebody was sitting and just pushed the chair as far and as hard as they could away from the table and left the room. 10 different people did this in that room, and there are, 8 people here right now?
I'm not sure there are that many.
I mean, you got us
there are
3.
4 of us.
There's Puckett's out there. There's Brayton out there. A couple of other dudes. Producer for Bowerly's show. There's definitely
10.
less than 10.
Okay.
What happened between 4:15 and 5 o'clock? Like, did everyone show up for a meeting and just wreck the room? I mean, wreck the room's a little strong, and then just leave?
On a Friday, I doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of sunny. Well, I just have no idea. I feel like someone who knows that I do that with the chairs is messing with me. But there's nobody here. There are a couple of women who work down at that end of the building that I have confided in them that I have a thing about the chair. I tuck the chair. I want the chairs to look nice. And they kid me about it when they see me. They're not here every day, but when they see me, they smile and laugh and like, there he goes to fix his chairs or whatever. Yeah, Allie.
Samantha?
Yes. And so they're not here.
No
one's here. Like, I could see Allie wanting to mess with me that way.
Really?
Yeah.
She doesn't seem that type to me.
She makes fun of me in a fun, good-natured way about this, that I take this walk and that I have this chair thing.
Well, you may know her better than I do, but sometimes people have that and you don't know it. That sort of capacity.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if she were here. I would have thought, why did you do that to the chair? I would have immediately accused her of messing with the chairs.
You sort of want to right now. Welcome back. Football Monday on WGR. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. Eric Wood coming up at 4. 15 minutes. Let's go to Justin next. Hello, Justin.
Hi, I'm just kind of calling to reflect and ruminate on just how bizarre and unlikely and incredible that win was, and we all know that, obviously, but we won a game where every single Ravens score felt incredibly easy, and all of ours felt incredibly hard, from Josh getting stuffed at the line, having to jump over the tip ball, throwing to a rookie tight end who, people were saying he wasn't going to catch one ball the whole season. He was there for blocking. It's just so unlikely, and it's just so incredible to be part of, a fan of this team after going through the drought. I remember during the drought going nuts when Fitz got that win against the Patriots and thinking, I haven't felt like a big win in so long, and we get them every 3 weeks. We get at least a crazy win or something worth talking about or a statement game. And I'm just feeling just incredibly happy right now. Just wanted to bask in kind of some positivity. So go Bills. And just one more thing, though, I guess. Derrick Henry, he averaged 9 yards a carry, over 9 yards, and Lamar over 11 yards. Josh averaged 2, and James Cook averaged like 3.5. And we won that game. It's just a testament to how much pressure Josh really puts on these teams. And just really happy today. Great day to be a Bills fan.
All right, thanks.
Good deal, Justin. Yeah, and then it also, like we touched on, I think, already a little while ago, tells you what they're capable of when and what he's capable of at quarterback, Allen, when they really need to get it down the field. Because they needed it when they got it, and prior to that in the game, they seemed all too comfortable not taking it, not really trying it. So I don't know what sort of building blocks are in place that they lean on and learn from what happened in this game. But man, I sure hope that they aren't as accepting of just throwing passes behind the line of scrimmage as often as they did early in this game yesterday. It was very reminiscent of the playoff loss, I thought, in Kansas City.
Are they going to play anybody that will tell us what they really feel like they're best at? Or can they get through this year, or the first half of it at least, without having to do anything that we like? Just
maybe,
like this point is being made today, like how relatively conservative and short their offense was in the game, and then when it had to happen, it did. When they had to push it, they were able to, which says it all, like what they're capable of. But I mean, who's going to bring that out? I wonder if the Jets. It's really more a point about the Bills' defense, I think, whether the Jets can push them. I mean, the Jets have had some good days defensively against Allen, not so recently, unless maybe last year there was a little bit tough. That's the game Cook missed.
Yep.
But they were awesome yesterday. Fields, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, like they were awesome yesterday.
Yeah, they had a. I would say, this doesn't last long. If the Bills smack them around next week, all the good vibes that they're getting from a loss will be gone. But for now, they're getting credit for sort of showing up. It's not the same old Jets. There's a lot of that refrain going on because they're coming from so far behind that even having a credible looking loss is progress, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
So. Yeah, but I watched a lot of that game like a lot of you probably did. I mean, it was one of the two games available, at least, if you're not surfing around with the ticket or whatever.
And the other one was tough to watch.
Yeah, the other one just never got my attention at all.
Glad I bought into them.
Yeah, good job by us.
And I lost all my picks. The Jets I lost by a half point. The Saints I lost by a half point. The Giants I lost by more than a half point. The Giants I lost. That one, just handshakes like that. I kind of like the idea that Washington wasn't all that, and the Giants would look competent on offense. You see Daboll after the game on Russell Wilson?
I know he was non-committal, but then today straightened that out. I think he's staying in. But, yeah, it was non-committal right after. Yeah,
they tried so hard to get him to say, something more controversial or something more definitive about it, and he stayed on the road, but he would not. All you got to do is, I'm not talking about next week. The game just ended. I'm not doing that. And even that could be construed as, well, he's thinking about it.
Right.
And that's what yesterday was construed as. He's thinking about it. Taking Wilson out already. But that's for them to figure out. Eric Wood coming up after sports. It is Buffalo Football Monday. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Right. I don't understand. What happened to those chairs? Who moved those chairs? Who was in there? I mean,
there's really no chance there was a meeting.
No. If everyone who's here in the building right now went down there, including us, and left the chairs like that, that's the only explanation I have. And I know we didn't do that. I don't believe any of the people that are working in the newsroom went and did that. What the hell happened?
I don't know. What would make the most sense?
It wasn't just one chair either. It literally was like 10 chairs were just all over the place in there. I mean, as far away from the table as the walls would allow them to be is where the chairs were. And I just, I stood in the doorway like, how? Why?
You'd been there an hour ago.
Not even an hour ago.
And then you went back.
Yeah. And there's no one here. I'm
ghosts.
I am shook by this. Honest to God, I do not understand what just happened.
What would be the likeliest scenario? Something happened.
Yeah.
There was no meeting. There's no way the big shots are coming in to have a meeting, and they wouldn't even do that anyway. I feel like most of the people we work for would put the chairs back. Like you're taught to do. Like you're taught to do.
I can tell you.
Not.
I can tell you that does not happen.
Okay, maybe not. But they're not in the building.
Yeah, and
so that's out.
And this was way more aggressive than it. Normally, there'd be like a chair or two that might be in my way that I could trip on if it were dark, and I got to tuck it in.
Mm-hmm.
This again was like 10 of the chairs were just like, what's even happening?
I don't know.
It would not have been. Given the state of the room, it would not have been surprising to see one of the chairs on the table. Literally, that's how messed up the room was.
I hadn't thought of that one.
So I just don't have any idea what could have happened.
I should have thought of that one.
Did you go down there during a break and move the chairs?
I've been doing it every day. And last week, right, Zach? One day, I talked about it.
Wait, this is
real. The audience knows.
Oh, you guys are the best.
I was so worried I missed your live reaction when I had to do my update. I was very nervous I missed your live reaction.
I couldn't look at you. I was staring at my phone when you were telling me what happened.
I walked in and stood at the door. I didn't even sit down. I couldn't even get in the room. I'm just like, how many people are... I'm yelling. How many people are in here right now? 8 of us?
I try since you haven't said anything. Like it's just for me, just also getting up and walking around. But I try to put the chairs in and spread them out in a certain way that makes it impossible to understand. Like the chairs are touching each other face to face or back to back, all the way in the corner. Today I put one that's like facing right down at the garbage can. So you'd be like sitting right up on top of the garbage can?
Well,
I don't know.
Good job.
I don't know.
You did a good job.
Finally.
You shook me.
Finally a payoff.
So you have been doing this for how long?
Since shortly after the time you told me that the thing. Like that you go down there and
fix the chairs so I don't trip on them?
Yes, since shortly after that. Not every day, but every other day.
Were you doing this when it was dark out still?
I don't know. It was whenever you said that.
Because I never experienced. I never had any. What
was that? Like 2 or 3 months ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Since then.
Wow.
And I do think like it hasn't come up yet. Is there a way I can make it even more ridiculous where the chairs, like I haven't gone as far as to stack them or put them on the table.
Right.
Because I really don't want a problem.
Right. Well, today was the first. They have been askew, and the room has looked different other days when I've gone down there after having been in there already when I don't think anyone's here. But I guess I'm not sure. They could have been in a different conference room having a meeting with the door closed, and they, for some reason, went in that room because they needed the TV in there or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I've never really given it a thought, and it's never been askew enough for me to react the way I reacted. You finally got me to where I was like, how could this have happened?
I love the one where, like I did, the first one, if you go right to around the table from right to left, the first change I made is to have the chairs, like the front of the chair just touching the other one. Like if people were sitting in those chairs in that configuration, they'd be on top of each other.
Right, like holding hands and like doing some sort of a trust exercise or something.
Yeah,
right?
Something sexual. Like it would be, why would 2 chairs be positioned like that ever? Because it would never happen if you just got up and left. It would never end up where the chairs are literally touching front to front.
Right.
Yeah. And I know you had a thing about that one that's a different kind of chair.
Oh, yeah.
So I always make sure to move one of those.
Yeah.
The leather one.
Okay, yeah.
That's all over now. I mean, that's it.
That has been...
It's worth it.
Prior to today, when... Because the chairs... There are 3 kinds of chairs in the room.
Is that right?
There are.
I should know that by now. You'd think I would know that by now.
One of them one set of them are exactly the same chairs that we're sitting in right now. Then there's chairs that have the same seat and back as we're sitting in, but have different arms, longer, sort of curved arms. Then there are chairs that have those same curved arms, but different backs and seats, like full leather or whatever, vinyl, I don't know, whatever it is.
The NFL season is underway for the Buffalo Bills, and they do start 1-0 following a dramatic 15-point comeback against the Ravens, a game winner from Matt Prater. And next up now for the Bills, it is on the road, taking on the Jets next Sunday at 1 p.m. Last night, Allen was in MVP form yesterday, just under 400 yards passing and 4 total touchdowns. Josh Allen also becomes the Bills' all-time leader in rushing touchdowns scored after passing Thurman Thomas. We'll get more on last night from the coaches and coordinators. Sean McDermott speaking with the media right now. Our own Sal Capaccio has you covered over on Twitter at Sal Sports. We'll also hear from Sal coming up at 6 o'clock. Week 1 finishes up with Monday Night Football tonight. Bears host Vikings. Kickoff just after 8:15. Our coverage right here on WGR. We'll get underway at 7. The 49ers made some roster moves. Right tackle Colton McKivitz signs a 3-year, $45 million extension. $27 million of that is guaranteed. They're also bringing in wide receiver Kendrick Bourne on a 1-year deal. The Giants are going to be sticking with Russell Wilson at least for another week at quarterback as they take on Dallas next. Head coach Brian Daboll did confirm that with the media today. And then Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says wide receiver Xavier Worthy is considered day-to-day. He did, of course, suffer that separated shoulder. Rehab and wearing a brace are the expectation, but surgery is still a possibility. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Head Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I love the Josh Allen rushing touchdown quest, just updating the leaderboards and hearing the names of the players he's, running past. He was tied with Thurman before last night, and Willis McGahee, by the way. He passes 3 others as well, including Ricky Williams. Just, I think of it this way. You hear these names and ask yourself if it makes sense. Does it make sense that Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns than Ricky Williams ever did? And now he's tied with Todd Gurley. Does that make sense? That Allen and Todd Gurley have the same number of rushing touchdowns, 67. Next up is Eddie George, Maurice Jones-Drew, and Thomas Jones sitting there at 68. Come on.
He's coming for them all.
Come on. Eric Wood with us on the Wester Hotline. How about you with that, Eric? Does it kind of blow your mind to think that Allen is passing these all-time great running backs in this category? Come on.
Yeah, it is kind of mind-boggling, especially when a lot of them played. It wasn't as many quarterbacks taking it into the end zone with their legs as there are now. So, yeah, it's I guess more surprising from that aspect of it.
Todd Gurley didn't get vultured too many times by Jared Goff or Nick Foles, Case Keenum. I guess you're right about that. So, yes.
Right.
Well, last night, Eric, were you thinking comeback as the fourth quarter was playing out? You were in the stadium. You're seeing the fans leave. That had to be a sight to see for this team in recent years. It's very rare, of course. Did you – as a former player, too, because I wonder your perspective on how the players have to be thinking where the game might, to us, feel like it's over but really isn't.
Yeah, I guess at this point I can have a different feeling than when I was playing. When you're playing, it's, hey, we got another series. Who knows what's going to happen? As I was sitting there watching from the booth last night, I was thinking this game's over. We're not going to be able to get multiple stops here. We failed on these 2-point conversion attempts that we really needed. Now it's probably out of reach. But in the NFL, anything can happen. And you get that fumble, which I think was the biggest play of all of it. You get that fumble by Ed Oliver. And then all of a sudden now you're right back in it and you get a stop. And it's easy to say, hey, let's run out the clock. And, the Bills struggled against the run so bad against the Ravens. But when they're going to run the football in every play and there's not the element of the play action or not likely the element of the play action, then it becomes easier to stop. And John Harbaugh's got a crazy track record of blowing these 2-score leads. And, maybe he gets too much of the blame and the players or coordinators deserve more of it, but ultimately it falls on the head coach because he's been the common denominator. And so all that being said, me and Chris were going through, it's been, 13 straight games since the Bills have lost at home. They haven't given up 40 points since 2022. And we're kind of going through all that. And then here come the Bills roaring back and shocked us all.
I know from following you on social media, Eric, that you were impressed with Ed Oliver, and good for him that he got that big play that they needed. They really, any team is going to tell you they want turnovers, and there's even situations in games where you need one, and that sure as heck felt like one with their inability to really stop them consistently anyways. Like, the turnover was exactly what you needed in a short field, and Oliver makes that play and kind of, I don't want to use the phrasing that it puts a cherry on top, but he had a very strong game. Even though they got gashed, he made good plays all night, I thought.
He did. He had multiple tackles for loss. He had a hit on the quarterback. He had a sack earlier in the game. I believe he had 6 solo tackles, which is really strong for a defensive tackle. A lot of times those guys are eating up blockers at the line of scrimmage, and they might get credit in the film room for one of the linebackers making a play because they ate up a couple guys. Well, you get 6 solo tackles as a defensive tackle. That's pretty impressive. And then he obviously gets the forced fumble. And I thought in watching back some clips and some of the film today, it just seemed like he was playing at a different intensity than most others on the field defensively, and then kind of different than I've seen him play at times. His kind of MO is, he shows up in, big time, primetime games during the season, hasn't done a whole lot in the playoffs, and I'm hoping he can bring some consistency to this season, because when he plays like he does last night, he's one of the better defensive tackles in the league. And, we'll see different tests this week, different tests each and every week. The weakness of this Ravens offense is likely their 2 guards. And so we'll see if you can put it together this week. But you also have to take advantage of those mismatches, and not many others did. So give Ed Oliver credit to playing a heck of a game last night.
Eric, going back to some of the moments here late in the game last night, you mentioned the Henry fumble. That's preceded by a Lamar Jackson 13-yard run. It's a sticking point with me as being such a fan of his in these losses, and some have been in the playoffs. He just isn't, wouldn't their best, if it's not Derrick Henry off tackle, wouldn't Lamar Jackson, or just the threat of a Jackson run be the thing you'd be afraid of? And again, in that series where they end up punting, nothing. Henry run and then a jet sweep with Flowers. Milano swallows him up. And then the pass to Hopkins, and Oliver wrecks Jackson on that play. And people were pointing out, I'm like, you got to go for it here. Maybe they just weren't able to do that because of how he felt or something. If you ask me, taking the time out if I have to, whatever. Just punting is just the worst option, I think. But there's that too. And Eric, the Bills, compared to the Ravens, and we've seen it when they've been on the same field, they don't make the mistakes the Ravens do, whether that's mental or something else. And they have all their timeouts to be able to use all 3 on that series, never, or rarely at least, wasting them on, they only have 10 guys on the field or some random thing that can happen in a game. But very often, maybe I would say most of the time, when the Bills need their timeouts, they have them. Well, that wasn't so amazing of a commentary by me to leave Eric speechless. But, I've done better.
Well, they really were buttoned up yesterday. And, not that it's the hardest thing to do, but and we will know. I don't know. Do you know? Maybe you do, while we're waiting to get Eric back. If Coleman was asked what he would have done if Alexander didn't clip his foot there on that last reception that preceded the field goal, because they kneeled after that play. And
would you have gone in?
Yeah, if he eludes that tackle, there's no one on the screen. He's waltzing into the end zone there if he wants to. I wonder if he would have known to sit down there, because obviously you score there, that's nice, you've got the lead, and I don't even think what is it? It's a 2-point game at that point.
Yeah.
So a field goal isn't even going to beat you, but still, you're going to give them the ball back, and you wanted to avoid that. I just wonder if Coleman would have known enough to get down there if he had eluded that tackle.
Eric, I don't know what you heard or missed, but I was talking about the Bills having their timeouts. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I heard all that, and somehow I got cut off where you guys couldn't hear me. Anyways, yeah, I mean, when you have – my point that I was trying to make was when you have sustained success that the Bills have had, you likely do a lot of the little things like that, right? You don't waste your timeouts. You know, you get the play calls in on time so that you don't have to waste a timeout in those incidents. And, are the Bills perfect in that regard? No. But more often than not, they're so worried about end-of-half, end-of-game situations that they're going to be on their stuff to be able to avoid wasting timeouts in those situations. And so, yeah, definitely played a factor there at the end. And then, getting later in the game, you make Baltimore by Keon Coleman getting tripped up, which I hope he would have gone down at the 1.
Sorry, I was just mentioning.
I was getting really close to the Micah Hyde running back the onside kick. Get down. The game's over. Against the Dolphins a few years ago that I did on the broadcast, and everyone roasted me on social media for being a party pooper, but it's just what you should do in that situation and ice the game. But regardless, Keon Coleman goes down that instance, and you're able to make Baltimore burn all their timeouts and not let them have a shot to win the game with a touchdown.
Eric Wood on the Wester Hotline. Bills over the Ravens 41-40. Scoregami. First ever game in NFL history by that score. I mean, it doesn't really even need to be said, I guess, but the magnitude of that win in the standings potentially. These two teams, Kansas City loses, Cincinnati 7 yards in the second half against the Browns. Denver didn't look good. Houston didn't look good. Miami, and for that matter, New England looked bad too. I mean, it's too early to assume too much, I guess, but their next 8 opponents are all 0-1, Eric, and Dolphins and the Saints coming up here after this Jet game. I don't know. This game could end up being just massive in the end. I mean, even if they did have a harder schedule, that could still be true.
No, I agree. Yeah, this is going to be a crucial win, and likely Kansas City towards the end, and potentially however this all shakes out. But when you're talking about home field advantage in the playoffs, that's a massive game. And I mean, it's just we all have this warm and fuzzy feeling today, and it's amazing how bleak it was with less than 5 minutes to go in the game.
Something that has stood out already just early on in our show anyway, talking about this game, Eric, is how electric, how excellent the Bills' downfield passing game was once they got to it when they really needed to, because they were as behind as they were. Did you think that early on it was a little too much of the behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, that kind of that quick hitting stuff that we saw some of last year? I wonder if there weren't opportunities to do more of what they did in the fourth quarter earlier in the game, and if they learned maybe exactly who Josh Palmer is, and maybe Coleman emerging in the fourth quarter like he did. I read he was targeted 10 times in the fourth quarter, only 1 prior to that, but still ends up being a big stat line for him in this game. I'm just wondering if the Bills maybe need to get to that sort of offense maybe a little sooner in games.
I think so, and I'm not sure if Josh got the checkdowns or if he checked to maybe some of those wide receiver screens because they thought they saw blitz, and then you get it out on the perimeter easily, and based on the blitz, those wide receiver screens in theory should work better as everyone's up the field. I'm not sure on that, whether it's play call, decision-making by Josh, or whatever it may be, coverage dictating it. Regardless, on the first drive of the game, he takes a shot down the field to Shakir, sails it just over him, and almost gets intercepted. He has the strike for 15 yards for the touchdown to Dalton Kincaid, and then I believe he missed Palmer down the field on one. But those were really the only times that in the first half we really pressed the ball down the field, especially something that wasn't off script. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I do think they need to get to that, and that's something they talked about heading into the offseason. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott at their press conferences at the end of the season was developing a more consistent downfield passing game, and we got to it. It was just late in the game. And so, like I said, I don't want to point fingers and say, Joe Brady dialed up 0 shots in this one. A lot of times when you go back and look at the film, which I haven't had the opportunity to yet, I haven't gotten the chance. I haven't been exposed to it yet, the full all 22 copy. But a lot of times, you have a 50, whatever it may be. Josh is trying to take what they give him, and late in the game when you have to make those plays, Josh looks at it and says, "Well, I think I can make that throw," and he does.
Come on, Eric. It's like the next day. You haven't watched the all 22 yet. You had to fly home. Probably have other commitments. You haven't gotten around to that yet.
I haven't got to it yet, and this year, and normally I do watch some film before this because we do the chopping wood for the Sean McDermott show, but this year it's going to be more just dialogue between me and Steve and not breaking down the film. So, yeah, so all that being said.
Well, an example.
I don't want to say I'm unprepared because I watched every bit of the game with almost the best all 22s you could possibly get in our our broadcast booth, which sits right in midfield, halfway up. It's my favorite. Even if I wasn't in the booth, that's where I'd want to watch the game from. And but just real quick, circling back to that, I felt like early on it just seemed like they were daring the Bills to run the football or throw those short passes by playing a little bit off and saying, we're going to keep everything in front of us and rally to the football.
So what do you make of the defense last night? Yes, it's the Ravens. We've seen Derrick Henry do that kind of damage before and Lamar Jackson. But, Eric, it came especially easy to Baltimore. I mean, their drives were so quick, short. I mean, just huge chunks on their running game. Was there a tactical change made that you'd want to point out, or just what you might have been thinking and saying, watching them struggle so badly to stop the Ravens? And, I mean, Zay Flowers ends up with the wide receiver 1 of the week in fantasy, too. He had a big night.
Yeah, it seemed like a combination of a lot of things. At times, it looked like their offensive line was getting the better of our defensive line. At times, it looked like either the second or third level of the defense wasn't fitting the holes properly, that just let Derrick Henry just hit these big holes with a full head of steam, and at that point, just look out. The book on Derrick Henry is get him to stutter his feet in the backfield, and it's when you're 250 pounds, it's hard to stop and start that quickly. Well, we didn't make him stutter in the backfield very often, and so, it's a combination of all three levels. I've seen a bunch of stuff on social media, people pointing out bad angles by the safeties, and look, they didn't get a lot of time during training camp. They didn't get a lot of reps. They barely played in the preseason games, and so there might be some growing pains. You start a late-round draft pick rookie at corner who seemed to be fine last night. No huge blunders by any means, but inexperience, and you just have a lot of that. And then I will say this. Early on in the game, the Ravens have a long drive. They get a sack. They hold them to a field goal. Bills go 3-and-out back-to-back drives. That's really tough on a defense. I mean, especially a defense like the Ravens. So then the second series of the game, the Bills start with their backup defensive line in because their starters were just in there. And I don't know, it's kind of like that ripple effect that we talk about often. It's like the offense keeps going 3-and-out. And yes, you'd love to say, hey, defense, go out there and you get a 3-and-out. But when you're on the sideline, you have a full off season to game plan for a defense. They're trying to figure out what Baltimore's doing to them. Oh, everybody hurry up. Get off the bench. Here we go. We're back out there. That's a tough I'm not making excuses for them, but the complementary football that Sean McDermott often talks about wasn't quite there, and the Bills go 3-and-out back-to-back times, and the Ravens get 2 of their touchdowns off of those 3-and-outs.
Eric, how about Matt Prater? You never had the experience of being, you were a new guy when you got drafted, but you played your career here. You didn't join a new team, 3 days before the opener or anything. You never had that experience. Here's Prater, comes across the country, doesn't know how long he'll be here, but nails everything, including, that game winner. I mean, it's a guy that has obviously plenty of experience in the league, so it's not new to him, but still, it's got to be quite a whirlwind to show up in a place like this with this fan base and have the opportunity to make that kick like he did.
what an opportunity. 3 days later, you got a chance to go solidify the win in what's likely going to be one of the favorite Bills memories for the entire fan base, one of the maybe the most memorable game of the whole season when you consider that the entire country was tuned in on Sunday Night Football. But and you could blow it all. It could all be for nothing if you don't make that field goal. I tried to look it up, and I think I got the correct stat that he had 23 game-winning field goals prior to that one. So not an unfamiliar situation for him. And I'd assume if he's 41 years old and teams are signing him, he's probably a pretty good dude in the locker room and obviously good at his job to stick around that long. But, yeah, I'm impressed that he was able to, one, perform the way he did, two, impressed by the Bills that they didn't say, oh, this guy was a sixth-round rookie. He just got cut by this team. He's got super high potential. Well, this team doesn't need potential right now. We need somebody that can come in and look like he's been there before, and that's exactly what he did last night.
Which is, brings the Ravens to mind with their kicker, Tyler Loop, who made 4 out of 5 but missed an extra point. Or was it 4 out of 5 extra points, maybe it was. I mean, they lost by 1. Well, we won't talk again until this game on Sunday. The Jets lost to Pittsburgh but had almost a shockingly good day offensively. This was the game with the lowest point total in Vegas, something around 37, and the game ends 34-32. Pittsburgh over the Jets. I'm not sure if you got to watch any of it. Maybe you did, as it was in the early afternoon. What are your thoughts on them? Justin Fields, good start. Breece Hall, all of it.
Yeah, Justin Fields, a good start. No surprise to you in your fantasy football projections.
Thank you.
But it's going to be a similar test to last week. Not quite as much talent on the field, but you have a mobile quarterback. You have pretty good running backs, and they're going to test the Bills similar to ways that Baltimore did because it's a copycat league. Now, they're not as good as Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and that crew, but they have some talent on that side of the football. They're young. They're hungry. Aaron Glenn, their head coach, I was watching the game, and he's, getting the guys going. They seem to be playing with maybe more effort than they did at times under Saleh. So, you go on the road, division game, early in the season, especially new head coach. Obviously no one wants to start 0-2, but you get more confidence when you got a new coach and you think, okay, maybe this is our year. We just played the Steelers tough. Maybe they're going to be really good. And, so we'll see. But I'd imagine the Bills are going to get a tough test this weekend because they're going to try and pound the ball out on the ground, see if the Bills can make a couple of mistakes, and hopefully the Bills can just take care of business.
How much of it all, Eric, is it a challenge for a team to let go of such a dramatic? I mean, I know how we've heard from some fans already today. I know how I'm feeling. It's so exhilarating to win a game like that that's already being talked about as potentially. I mean, we'll see what the rest of the season looks like, but it's a game of the year candidate, and it's only week 1 here. It's not just your average win, to win it that way. And I just wonder if there's a valley you have to be prepared to handle emotionally.
That's a great question, and I'm not trying to cut out by saying I don't really know. We didn't have monster wins. That we had the one win against New England to get to 3-0, and we had win to get in the playoffs and all that. So being a little facetious there, but Sean McDermott's going to understand that. Yes, they're probably still on a high from last night today, and that's okay. We always say the 24-hour rule. Enjoy it or be down in the dumps for a day, and that's okay. But you got 24 hours, and then we're going to rebound, and whether good or bad, start preparations for our next opponent. And so I'm sure Sean will be on them all week, understanding that that was one game against the Ravens, and coming up you have a divisional game, which is in theory more important than the previous one. And it'll be an 0-1 team that's ticked off every time we've played these guys recently. They've gotten fights, and I just looked, and Michael Clemens is still on the roster, so we'll have to keep Deion Dawkins in check because Deion, 73 and 72, will be fighting a good amount on Sunday, I'm sure.
Eric, thanks for this. Glad to have you back this year, and we'll talk next week.
All right, sounds good. Always great talking with you guys.
Thank you.
There you go. Eric Wood's appearance here on WGR, brought to you by Northwest Bank for what's next. Get started at northwest.com, and by Northtown Kia, Western New York's #1 Kia dealer. Shop at northtownkia.com.
Allen just does not make the mistakes other good or even great quarterbacks in this league make. Mentally, like Fields had a terrific day. Everybody knows how athletic he is. He's not always impressed as a passer, but he had his moments yesterday. Game on the line, down 2, and he throws that hospital ball to Garrett Wilson when he could have easily run for the first down there. It's so easy watching on TV, but it's just like we don't have these debates about, well, in the playoffs a couple times, I guess, but it just seems even Lamar Jackson in this game last night leaves you, well, why did they just do this here? Armchair quarterback stuff that it feels like Allen, who we watch more often than anybody else, doesn't really avail you to that. I mean, just so heady in addition to being so excellent in so many other ways. 803-0550. We'll get back to your calls after sports. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone.
I had no idea listening to
Fella stopped me on the street last night.
I don't remember an interview
Said
that sounded like
everything's
this.
alright.
Like, what is happening right now? Is he on tarmac? That's a word, right? That's an actual word. Is he on the tarmac and playing sort of doing this? Sorry for the radio listeners. You know, this move right here, just waving in planes.
Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Who didn't know until today.
Right.
That's forgivable.
My wife spent the evening, the balance of the game, in her attic studio. She got a big weekend coming up at Borderland, and I had friends over, and she did not know. This morning, we awakened at the same. I think she was actually working. She's She's sleeping now because she's working overnights. Anyway, we met in the hallway outside our bedroom at about 7:45 this morning when I got up, and she was coming downstairs from her attic studio to go to bed, and said, I'm sorry the Bills didn't win. And I was, hun, they came all the way back. It was incredible. She's like, how did I not hear you screaming? I'm like, well, one guy left at 40-25. He just like, it's Sunday night.
Listen, if you're out there being shamed today for leaving early, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the game, but I'm easy to talk into leaving early when it's Sunday night coming up on midnight, and it's almost definitely over, just not definitely.
Right.
So you can get me there.
So it's, I don't know, it's almost 8 hours later that my wife learned that they had won the game. It's possible. Someone just didn't know and didn't check and is surprised. So maybe we're the ones telling them.
Good for you.
I doubt it. If you're listening to this show, you probably know they won.
It's possible, I suppose. Football Monday on WGR, brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com. What a first game for the stadiums last year. You know what was funny to me? I thought about this today. Last week, just kind of randomly, like we do, I asked you, is there any Bills winning final score that would upset you? And you said no. And I'm like, 2-0. And you're like, no.
Fine.
Then I said 2-1. And this is funny too, struggled to explain how you can get 1 point, other than on an extra point, in a football game. And so I blew that. We almost had it last night. On the 2-point play that is at Hamilton, he intercepts the pass and laterals to Van Noy. And Van Noy comes out of the end.
Good news for the Bills. No major injuries picked up yesterday in the win over Baltimore. Head coach Sean McDermott, when speaking with the media earlier this afternoon, did have a bit of a minor update for cornerback Trey White, who did miss yesterday with a groin injury, saying that White is improving, but that they'll know more on Wednesday when the Bills get back to work as they start preparing for their road matchup with the Jets on Sunday at 1 p.m. We'll get more on today and last night. Zach Baccio will join the show at 6 p.m. Week 1 will wrap up with Monday Night Football. The Bears are hosting the Vikings. Kickoff just after 8:15. Our coverage right here, though, on WGR will get underway at 7. And then some moves made from the 49ers. Right tackle Colton McKivitz signs a 3-year, $45 million extension. $27 million of that is guaranteed. They're also bringing in wide receiver Kendrick Bourne on a 1-year deal. The Giants will continue to roll with Russell Wilson at quarterback in their Week 2 matchup against Dallas. Head coach Brian Daboll did confirm that earlier this morning. And then Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says wide receiver Xavier Worthy is considered day-to-day with a separated shoulder. Rehab and wearing a brace are the expectation. Surgery, though, still very much a possibility. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Lamar, did you have a say on that 4th and 3, or were you in coach's ear at all?
No, I was cramping, so that's why I pretty much hauled out the field, because if I wasn't, I believe everybody in here know I would have been trying to go for a 4th and 3.
Yeah, Jackson takes a hit on the 3rd down pass to Hopkins, final offensive series of the game for the Ravens, as it turns out. And it never looked like there was any, I wasn't in the stadium, but that there was any sort of movement toward going there. I don't know. It's like, it's not because it's the Bills that won. It's just, you lose a game like that, it's the bigger story, right? You should not lose a game that you lead by 15. No one's ever done it before in regulation with that big a lead and that little time left. So go figure. But that sequence, I just would hate it if we were talking about the Ravens instead. Henry on the 1st down, what are you going to say? It's killing the Bills all night. I don't think it's a mistake to run Derrick Henry off tackle. The Flowers jet sweep, I'm thinking 4 downs. Maybe John Harbaugh isn't, but I'm thinking I'm not giving this dude the ball back, right? Like, I'm going to win the game with my offense, which has been unstoppable. And the Flowers play, of course, easier to say with hindsight, the Flowers play has the much greater possibility of a negative play. And, maybe he breaks it. You don't need him to break it. You need 10 yards and 4 downs.
Right.
And Milano takes him down. Like that's a 0 or maybe 1. And now I'm 3rd and long. And, you can justify throwing a pass there, which they did, but I need to get to 3rd and 5. I need to get to 3rd and 4. And the Flowers call is the problem for me because then you just had a bigger risk of, negative. They had a Justice Hill play early in the game. There was a huge negative play. Like that can happen on that jet sweep. It's more of a gamble. And just, it was enough of, it wasn't a loss, but it was enough of a stop, I think, to really put the Ravens in tough. And instead you get to 4th and 3 after the Hopkins play, and Jackson is bent over.
Right. He did get hammered on the play, but he just says there, right? Did I hear that correctly? I was cramping.
Yeah.
And like that, so maybe that, I don't know if that was, cramps aren't necessarily caused by big hits, but still the combination of the big hit, he's cramping, we're not going to go for it. But I don't know, didn't you say already earlier, call timeout and just try, because even if I was thinking about this, this has never been my mountain to climb, but you dragged me with you at times early on in our relationship, kicking and screaming, but we got there eventually. I'm watching that thinking, right, at least if you give them the ball there, right? It's 1:26 when they punt, right? So if they run a play and don't get it, worst case scenario probably is the Bills play conservative to get a field goal, and there's time left. Maybe they're not going to have 1:20 to drive the field on you. So the moment where they're going to kick is going to come sooner. You might get the ball back with some time left.
Ooh.
But if you're kicking it away, you're kicking away. You're probably never getting the ball back.
Right.
If the Bills execute, and of course they did. They were running really hot at that point. So, I mean, with the short field there, where were they? Their 38-yard line, I think, is where they are.
That's right.
Right. So, the Bills can't exactly just kneel and kick there, but I doubt that they're going to successfully run 1:20 off the clock. Right? I mean, Baltimore still has the timeouts. It was weird to me. Because I would think the thing you'd want is to try to get the ball back with 30 seconds and go try to win it after the Bills go ahead.
I don't know. I don't see it. I don't really see it that way. I mean, I think the game is you're either going to lose or you're going to stop them. I think it's 80 yards to the end zone. It's 30 to 40 to field goal range, or not 30, but 40 to 50 to field goal range. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I always like the point, too, that if you go for it and fail, that's less time that your opponent needs to do whatever it is they're going to do. But you're almost putting them in field goal range if you do that.
Sure.
I would have gone for it. Easy to say. That's irrespective of what Jackson's condition
That's
was.
entirely my point here, is that the Bills would not have had the opportunity to run the clock all the way down. Probably.
Had they gone for it and missed.
Had they gone for it and missed.
That's right.
You're there. Maybe they get to your 20 and they kick, and there's going to be some time left.
That's right. Probably.
So, all the more
I didn't
reason
know
to
you
go
were
for
saying
it.
that. I didn't know. I thought you were talking about after the punt, but you're saying instead of the punt.
Instead of the punt, yeah. That's all the more reason to go for it, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Here is Brandon next. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, guys. So, guys, I love your show. You guys are awesome. I always listen to you. I have two questions. The first question is, I know kind of putting the cart ahead of the horse, but what does last night's game kind of have for the number one seed now with the Chiefs losing? The Chiefs still, I mean, they're a toss-up, honestly. I don't think they're as great as everybody thinks they are. And then, now with beating Baltimore, I mean, how is that going to kind of play out the rest of the year? And then my next question is Joey Bosa. I thought he played good. I know he got beat twice yesterday, or 2 or 3 times. He wasn't keeping contained. And after that, do you think it was McDermott that said something to him, or do you think his veteran presence and his experience kind of kicked in? Because the rest of the game, I thought he played great. And I just wanted to hear what your guys' thoughts were on that. Go Bills. Love you guys. I hope you guys are on forever. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate all that.
I wouldn't know. I don't know. I could know, but I don't know.
On Bosa? Yeah. I did like him. I even would say, like, getting burned in the backfield by Lamar Jackson when it looks like you've got him sewn up, I feel like is still a very good sign. Like you don't want to get Lamar Jackson's going to make a lot of defensive ends miss in the open field like that. So the fact that he's there and was creating the pressure, like most guys, even Fields is not as elusive as Lamar Jackson. He's a very good runner, but he's not Lamar Jackson level. I don't know, maybe he's closer than I'm even saying, but still, I think it's good. I liked Bosa, and I liked that he was there for the opportunity to make those plays. Yes, he had some gas. He bit hard on a couple of fakes and got exposed. But I thought overall it was a decent performance from him, which is, I don't know, maybe I got to slow down on praising guys on this defense that gave up 40 points because we're talking to Eric Wood last segment, and Oliver had a really good game. So, how many guys could have had a really good game when you got stampeded like that? So, anyway, I liked Bosa mostly. What was the first part of the guy's call?
It's week one. And it's obvious that it's so early that it's not worth getting into math or anything when it comes to this. But because of the schedules that the Chiefs and the Ravens are facing, the Bills have an extremely good opportunity to open up a lead for the one, unless somebody else comes calling, which is possible. Maybe that's the Chargers, who beat Kansas City, and their schedule early, at least, is not as daunting, or overall. Maybe it's Pittsburgh. Right? I mean, that Aaron Rodgers' name has not come up yet today, but that's a very good day. Jets are respectable defensively. Maybe it's them. I think with the Chiefs going Philadelphia in week 2, Baltimore itself in week 4, Detroit, Washington, all before they even come here in week 9, good luck, especially if they're down Worthy, and we know they're down Rice for 6 games. I mean, what's next? So never count them out, but that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And then Baltimore has Detroit and Kansas City in the next few weeks, and they have the Rams. Not as obvious maybe as the Kansas City schedule is, but not easy.
Yeah.
So I think if the Bills are the Bills, they have a pretty good chance to get to week 9 even undefeated. I mean, that's how it looks. I mean, the schedule is very soft compared to those other teams. So it's possible that in a month, they're going to look like they're already in great shape for the one. And, I'm obviously presuming a lot. It's too early to talk like this.
Yeah, but one of the first thoughts I had, even, really right after Friday night, is with the caller. You can't, start thinking about the tiebreakers or any of the stuff that we get to in December. But make everybody chase you. And there's other teams, like you said, somebody else could show up. But if you're focused on Baltimore, Kansas City, and Buffalo as the top 3 teams in the conference, which I still am, then as soon as Kansas City lost Friday night, the anxiety I felt for the Bills to get this win amped up because they've been mostly chasing Kansas City in these seasons. Eventually, I don't know that they've never been in the one hole themselves after a week of games, but they've mostly been chasing the Chiefs. The Chiefs didn't lose last week until they came here, or last year, until they came here. So at least for a week, you're in the pole position, and it'd take a lot maybe to hold it all year. But you've got a leg up on the 2 teams that I think you should still be most worried about, and that's not nothing.
Maybe it's the Colts.
Narrator. It's not the Colts.
First team since 79 to score on every possession. What a performance by the Dolphins. The Colts are not getting respect for what they did. The Broncos are favored in Indianapolis in week 2. So not that much respect. We're not overreacting as a society to what Indianapolis looked like. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after this timeout here on WGR. if he takes a knee in the end zone.
Yeah.
I think that
would have been a point, but it would have been preceded by a touchdown. So it's still the part of the conversation I remember the most is that can you just get 1 point?
Yeah, that's how you could have gotten 1 point.
But it would have
after it was a 2-point play.
Right. So I wasn't going to have 1 as my score, is what I'm saying. I don't know that there's a way to have 1 as your score.
Well, anyway, I don't need to butcher it again. But what was funny to me is like, all right, what if last week in that conversation I would have said 41-40?
Why? Yeah, well, I mean, you could have, I suppose. I mean, you could have picked any score you want, 2-0, even 2-1.
From an entertainment standpoint, 41-40 is a home run.
Right, you would never be, I don't think, maybe people are really mad about the defense out there.
I don't know about really mad, but you would be right to wonder what they are.
Be concerned, sure.
I mean, they got run over in this game.
Yes, they did.
And, I mean, what's funny about last night, I mean, it might be a game we never forget. If you stayed up, I guess. I mean, it's great matchup, opening night. It'll go down in the annals, this game. For most of it, how was your mood?
I was pretty sour.
You know? Like, man. All right, so a little bit of revenge on Baltimore's side. Oh, we know Derrick Henry can be a problem. You know Lamar can be a problem. And, like, they just could not. For the second game in a row against this team, they couldn't stop them at all.
I spent way more time than I would like during the fourth quarter prior to the Bills, getting the first touchdown and then the turnover and then thinking about what I was going to be saying about it. If they lose the game 40-25, whatever, whenever the score was there, or maybe it even gets worse than that before it's over, like how do you want to frame this? And I like to try to just watch the games and not be thinking about this as much. But when a game gets like that, that's where my mind goes. My mind goes like, how am I going to manage this, right? Like, what do I want to be heard saying about all of this? And so that was mostly what I was doing when the comeback started, was thinking about, long season, too bad Kansas City lost. You could have put this team down 0-1-2, but, long year, just get your boots on, schedule eases up, yada, yada. But and that inherently makes me feel depressed. If I'm thinking about that during a game, I'm pretty bummed out. So I was pretty bummed out for most of the second half of this game.
Well, you could say all that, but then really have the conversation about what their defense is going to be. I mean, that's the Ravens. And so I'm sure if they lose the game like that and we go hard at like this defense, this could be bad. This could be the first Bills one of these seasons where their defense is really down. And, that would have been met with a lot of, but it's Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And really, the outcome of the game is different, but the conversation is still there. Like just what that's going to be, but it's Baltimore. I mean, I don't know. We'll get to it. It's only Monday, but the Jets did kind of just do the same thing to Pittsburgh yesterday. They lost too, but
they ran for almost 200 yards.
They ran it easily through Pittsburgh. So anyway, that's not where we are. We've said it so many times, games like this, even without like the comeback piece, the Bills just do important little things, details, better than the Ravens do. And I thought there was something I made a note of right in the first quarter in this game, where the Bills get the opening kickoff. They start at about midfield or right at midfield, and they're driving, and they get to 3rd and 7. And a Baltimore lineman jumps, and Spencer Brown stands right up immediately, 5 free yards, 3rd and 2, and that's automatic for this team. Touchdown, right? Ultimately, touchdown. Baltimore goes the other way, and they're driving, and a Bills linebacker, I forget who, shows blitz by sprinting to the line, but he stops at the line. Like, he might be trying to bait Baltimore into a false start, and just like, that's not going to be what happens every time. But like right away, compare and contrast, you've got one team 716-222 has to have that instinct. WGR, that's 4947. That caller will win 2 tickets to see Adam Sandler at KeyBank Center Sunday, September 21st, courtesy of Live Nation. Tickets are available now at Ticketmaster.com. Much better to win, though. Welcome back. Football Monday on WGR. We go to Joe next. Hi, Joe.
Hey, fellas. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it with everything to talk about today after that win. One thing I want to just say is give McDermott his flowers for a second, just because I think the identity of this team and the character that was shown last night with that comeback victory. I mean, the Bills don't typically win those tight games like that, but seeing guys like Joey Bosa, who also loses games like this typically, and just the buy-in now of all these new guys. McDermott said it in his post-game conference. He loves games like these early in the season to get guys to buy in. I think that's exactly what they did. By no means was it McDermott's best game as a head coach, but they came out strong, and I think the deficiencies showed on this team just with the talent against Baltimore and the coordinators. But I think it just showed a lot of grit, with what McDermott preaches, bend, don't break, defend our dirt. I think the Bills came out and they did that. And it's just good to see them win and excited about the season. So thanks, guys. I'll hang up. One last thing, actually. I just want to say this, because, Bulldog, I know your take on Jim Harbaugh. Everybody thinks John is more temperamental. Certainly I do. But what a Bush League thing at halftime to be running on the field and running in the locker room. Cameras catch him. And he's asking why. Why do they have to go back out for the 1 second? I don't know. I just think that was obnoxious of him. But I'll hang up and listen to you guys. Thanks, and go Bills.
All right. Yeah, they did try to. They didn't want to wait around for the review to get the time put back on there. Maybe they thought if we run off the field, sort of like when the doors opened after the no goal in '99, like we can't unring the bell. They're gone. I guess we'll just let it be. To their credit, the league's credit, the officiating crew's credit, they didn't go for that. They announced right away, get back out here. Hey, Baltimore, come back. Half is not over. So good for them. I would bet, I mean, I don't know, McDermott has been, he spoke already this afternoon. I bet it's a perfect game for a coach because you got a result that is favorable. Obviously, you won the game, so the lesson the caller is describing gets learned, right? Hang in there, right? Never give up. But they also got gashed and gave up 40 points and a lot of rushing yards. So there's a lot of – it's not like everyone's going to be so excited that you're not going to be able to get their attention to work on the things that went wrong because a lot did go wrong, especially on defense in this game. And that's an ideal scenario. I got the win. You learn to, keep your head in it, and I've got no trouble keeping your attention about your flaws because obviously there were numerous.
It's the no goal, or it's like the batter who tries to buy the walk. So he throws the bat on the close pitch, and the umpire is like, strike, get back here. Right. I just hate it, as I made this point about basketball so many times, really applies to all sports. It's the only time in the game when we're so particular about the clock. Every other play in the game, when the guy goes out of bounds, if it's out of bounds or what incomplete pass, there's a human reaction time that happens, and, that might add up to 10 or 15 seconds in the course of a half because they don't, at any other point in the game, scrutinize it like that. It's just like, all right, well, there's 9:38 left in the first quarter, incomplete. But there, they do it. And that, for me, is sort of a problem because there, you're eliminating the time that it takes to stop the clock.
Right.
And we don't do that any other time in the game. Same with basketball. It's why these ridiculous reviews from 0.7 to 1.2 seconds take place and just, I'll say ruin the sport. How about that? It ruins the sport. Just like, no, the whole day it takes me a second to push stop. So why not now? Why can't I be allowed to do that now?
Maybe they should study how actually long it does take, what that lag is, and then add that all up, and at the end of each half have stoppage time.
Yes, exactly. We've had 17 stoppages for incomplete passes and out of bounds. We're going to add 9 seconds.
Right. You got half a second or so for each one, and here's stoppage time.
That's brilliant. Yep. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after the update. It is Football Monday on WGR. I'm sure you can tell. It's brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com. Like, you wouldn't always want to jump. It's not always obvious to the officials, or how soon is the snap coming, where you might be like, it's too late. Different things might be in your mind there. It might be interesting for Eric Wood, although he was a center and didn't have that particular challenge. But still, like, on it right there, 5 free yards, ultimately a touchdown drive. And after, I don't remember what happened on the play that I mentioned when the Bills were on defense, but Jackson takes a big sack on that drive, and they end up kicking like a 52-yard field goal or something to score. So just the details. And of course, Baltimore has really made a habit of, for as good as they are, losing games like this. I mean, I think that's the big takeaway from last night overall in the league is like the Ravens again, like as good as, look how good they dominated.
Yeah.
And I mean, they didn't run that many plays because they were so efficient. Like, you can't blame them for that. It was more like the Chief playoff game here where it was just sort of like, kind of easy.
Yeah, I think I read that it's their 6th loss like that in maybe in the Jackson window, whatever it is. It's like with some window of time here, last 5 or 6 seasons, they've lost 6 games with that kind of a lead in the fourth quarter.
Win probability. Where their win probability is in the 90s or something like that. The Raider game a year or two ago, there's a pile of them.
Well, I'm mostly, I bet a lot of fans have already said this amongst themselves, and maybe the morning show guys said it or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of talk by the time we get on the air here at 3 o'clock, but it's awfully nice to have a game that's being talked about already after only 1 week's worth of games, minus one that goes tonight between the Vikings and Bears, to have a game that is qualifying as game of the year worthy, and the Bills didn't lose it. Yeah. Because we had our fair, going all the way back to the divisional round in 21 in Kansas City. You've got the Eagle game from a couple of years ago. They've had these examples. Jefferson. Right, Justin Jefferson. These games that are just sort of, I cannot believe the ride this game is. What a game. Oh, you lost. So they at least got that going for them and for us too. So it's certainly a much different scenario than, if we'd been wildly entertained by a comeback that just falls short. Like somehow Kyle Hamilton actually gets his entire hand on that football, because I think he touched it. I don't know
field goal?
Yeah, I don't know if he talked about it after the game or was asked, but man, the first replay I saw of it, even before NBC left the air, I thought, geez, that looks like it just flicked off just the very littlest bit of his hand.
Oh, my gosh.
Might have been an optical illusion, but it was so close.
To lose like that would have been incredible.
Yes. And
that's like the Denver game a little bit.
Yeah. And, I don't want to say, too typical, but we've got our share of these heartbreaking, I can't believe they found a way to lose that game of the year type games. And so if that had happened, oh my gosh, right? I mean, it'd just we'd be on fire over here.
Allen's now beaten the Ravens twice in his career, kneeling out the last series to set up the winning field goal. He did that in a game in Baltimore a few years ago also. Yeah, I mean, it's a great win. It's an incredible start to the season, almost unbelievable what that game was. I think you can and I'll want to talk about like what went wrong for them in that game. Like I don't want to put it as like if the end doesn't happen, because the end happened. Like that isn't to be like sort of disregarded. But for most of this game, you say like you were thinking about what you might want to talk about. What would that have been? Like defensive, there were already questions, but this opponent is the wrong opponent if you're sort of not all the way where you want to be defensively. The receivers, Coleman ends up, one of their touchdowns late was Coleman. He ends up with a big night, and that's a great sign for them. And there was a lot of talk about whether that was going to be coming this year, and that's off to a great start. Did we have that with 5 minutes to go?
No, I think
really.
Almost all of that. I think he only had one catch prior to the fourth quarter. I think he had 11 targets in the game, and 10 of them, I believe, were in the fourth quarter. So,
that's crazy.
I mean, that really popped there.
Allen threw for 251 in the fourth alone.
Right. And scored 2 rushing touchdowns if you want it. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah.
It's like almost a player of the week performance in the fourth quarter.
One quarter.
But yeah, Coleman, when we talked about everything, obviously, for months, but even in the week leading up to this game, about a number one emerging, like what happens with the receiving core, what do they really have there? And when we talked about Coleman, I think it was like, if we could just get like a 7 for 120 and 1, like that would feel really good. Like, that'd be a really positive sign, and you got pretty close.
That was it almost exactly.
It took until the very end of the game for it to happen, but he got there. So that's encouraging. The fact that Allen was going to him with the game on the line like that might be the most notable thing about it. I mean, the most notable thing about it is that he came through and made these plays, and together that hookup worked. But the fact that Allen is targeting him 10 times in that quarter when they're trying to mount that comeback, I think is encouraging for Coleman's emergence.
They're just, I know that this is putting it very simply, but they're just so tough to beat. I used to talk about Serena Williams when she was in her prime.
Good news for the Bills. No major injuries picked up in yesterday's win over Baltimore. Head coach Sean McDermott did also offer up a bit of a minor update on the status of cornerback Tre'Davious White, who did miss yesterday with a groin injury, saying that White is improving, but they'll have more on him on Wednesday when the Bills get back to work, starting to prepare for their road matchup with the Jets on Sunday at 1 p.m. We'll get more on last night and what was said today. Sal Capaccio joins the show at 6 o'clock. Week 1 will wrap up with Monday Night Football. The Bears do host the Vikings. Kickoff at 8:15. Our coverage right here on WGR, though, will get underway at 7. 49ers made some roster moves. Right tackle Colton McKivitz did sign a 3-year, $45 million extension. $27 million of that is guaranteed. They're also bringing in wide receiver Kendrick Bourne on a 1-year deal. Giants will continue to roll with Russell Wilson at quarterback, at least against their Week 2 opponent, Dallas. Head coach Brian Dable did confirm that this morning. And Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says wide receiver Xavier Worthy is considered day-to-day with a separated shoulder. Rehab and a brace are the expectation, but surgery is still a possibility. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Gonna hand it off to Henry, and he's bottled up, and the ball is out! It's loose! Who's got the football? It's Buffalo Ball! At the Baltimore 30-yard line!
Pass off to our defense in, the last 3 or 4 drives, playing some big boy football. That's a really, really good offense. It's a really good team.
It's Mike Schopp.
Allen reaches over the goal line, and he is in! He went high side this time instead of low, and he punched it in for the 1-yard touchdown run.
Great win, and they're hard to come by. That locker room, man, they kept playing. Those guys and coaches kept coaching. Wasn't pretty at times, and got a lot to learn from this game, and it's always good that you can learn after a win than after a loss.
And the Bulldog.
Down to 3 seconds. Here's the snap. Hold is down. Kick on the way, and it is good. And Matt Prater, in his first game as a Buffalo Bill, has won the ball game here in Week 1. The Bills were down by 15 in the fourth quarter. They come all the way back to win the game at the gun.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
A caller a few minutes ago brought up, and this is what a lot of fans and analysts, I'm sure, are all talking about from last night, is resilience and all those kind of words, around that, like not quitting. McDermott is talking about that. I'm usually not that guy because I think that stuff tends to get really overstated. I mean, I think the professionals that we're talking about every day, it's more impressive, I think, to us that like they can keep their heads. They're doing a job. I just think it gets overdone. We always want stories, and that's a very convenient and fine and good story that, never quit. But I will give you this much about this game. Derrick Henry, and for that matter, Lamar Jackson in tandem, they embarrass you as a defensive player.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that would be, I think maybe even Chris Collinsworth used the word last night.
About Bishop especially, I think. When Bishop got stiff arm to the ground, the word embarrassed, I think, was used a few times.
Yeah, I think this particular opponent, because of their style I mean, Henry, who's ever been like him? I listened to Dan Lebitard this morning on Derrick Henry. He's like, you're not supposed to be able to do this. We're always talking about replaceability of running backs, and he's Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams, and he's still going, and like it's just amazing. Right. I think, just again, I'm not somebody that really can relate to those guys, but this might be one where you would, get the check a little bit. It's the fourth quarter. The fans are filing out in droves. That's, again, the only time you can use droves. And it would be, like, demoralizing, and maybe you don't have that fifth gear or that extra strength and motivation on, a particular play.
I like this point a lot. I think, your resilience should be the same across the board, regardless of the opponent, but I feel like Baltimore is the kind of team that could very easily get a switch to flip in you. Just like, it's not our day. This is not our day.
We beat them last year.
We beat them when it mattered. Right. It's 15. They got the ball. They're going to run it some more. Oh, God. Right. But, Oliver is obviously not. He's going. He's trying to get. He gets the ball. And, I mean, that's just the. That's the biggest play in the game.
On that fumble, I think, if I'm picturing it right, the first four players to the ball are Bills.
It's all Bills, yeah.
Like, for all the fumble luck, everybody on that defense is firing.
Before I knew they had it, I said, I think I yelled, "You better have it!"
That's right. They're all piled on top of each other.
You're all around.
No one else is in there.
If you lost it, it's because one of your teammates just jostled it loose from you, trying to get it, because you were the only ones there. So you better have it. And it turned out, of course, they did. So, but yeah, no, I that is. No one likes to lose. No one likes to get beat. But there is a particular kind of humiliation in being left for dead on the field, like Bishop was on that one Henry run. I mean, good luck living that down. Until he makes some plays for this team, that is going to be, even though they won the game, that is going to be the image of Cole Bishop. Just like it was, I mean, we were not really attached to Josh Norman that much, but when he got just trampled by
the same guy,
Henry, like all those years ago in Tennessee, I mean, that was just it. That play ended up being called back by penalty, and it still got replayed endlessly because it was just such physical domination. And look, the Bishop play didn't approach that quite, but it was tough to watch. I'm sure Bishop didn't feel awful good, and I'm sure he won't watching the film of it because he got embarrassed.
So that's all, to the Bills' credit. It is the kind of game where, like, the Ravens had the ball with the 15-point lead with 8 minutes to go in the game. And just how can you lose that? It's one turnover, not three.
Right.
I mean, it's not like every one of these possessions ended in disaster. There was one little thing, I guess I'm thinking of it now, so I'll just say it. 803-0550 if you want to join us about last night's incredible Bills opening win over the Ravens, is I tweeted this. I watched football all day. I was a slob yesterday. All I did was, from when my stuff was done in the morning, then it was like fantasy, cramming, all the way up until midnight. It's all I did. I might have seen 30 plays in all the games, red zone, all the games, where they don't call this anymore. The receiver is coming forward at the line of scrimmage at the time of the snap.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be an automatic penalty if they ever saw it. Now they let you do it. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be very slight, but you're not allowed to be moving forward at the time of the snap. Only in Canada. Flowers did it, 40-25, Ravens ball, crowd's leaving, and they called it. And then they ended up punting. That's the only time I saw it called all day. I saw it constantly. I mean, you just see it constantly now in the NFL, is receivers in motion coming forward as they get past the tackle. And, this crew,
they threw it.
Home teams losing, that's the recipe.
Right.
So the Bills got a little bit lucky there. Not that it isn't a penalty. It is a penalty, but it just doesn't seem like one anymore.
Gets ignored a lot, yeah.
So there you go. Let's go to Colin next. Hi, Colin.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show. Just quick question about the defense. Do you all think that the defense will just look markedly different as time goes on, just given that, Trey White's eventually going to come back. Hopefully Hairston comes back maybe within 4 weeks, and then Ogunjobi and Hoyt. Like, do you anticipate that really in 6 or 8 weeks it's just going to look like a totally different defense, and therefore maybe we should expect some different results? And then kind of related to that, this probably is a little too early to start thinking about this, but is this something that Brandon Beane starts to think, okay, trade deadline, we need to go out and get a safety. Whoever is the best safety on a team that's selling, that's somebody we've got to target. And when you put all of that together, I just wonder if in 8 or 10 weeks after this soft spot in the schedule, we might just look like a totally different defense.
Well, I mean, you're talking about 4 guys, White, Hairston, Ogunjobi, and Hoyt. I think, they're not counting on all of them equally, but they're all expected to contribute. I would think Hairston and White and Hoyt, especially Ogunjobi, is maybe the least important of the 4. But that's 4 guys that you don't have right now. So, yeah, it'll be different if they get all of those guys back and, don't suffer more injuries along the way. I think it'll look different, and I think this Jet game will be very interesting for this because the Jets did do a great job of running the ball on Pittsburgh, which, is supposed to be like, what's Pittsburgh's calling card? I mean, they've got Aaron Rodgers now, but it's defense and Cam Hayward and TJ Watt. And the Jets had a good day doing that. And so, there's a lot of Baltimore is a bad matchup, and so that's why it looks so bad. And, I mostly agree with that. Like, Baltimore is a bad matchup for a lot of teams. They didn't have a couple of their things that really enhanced that, mainly the fullback yesterday, but they just plugged the tight end in there and just kept going, and it seemed to work fine. I think the Bills' defense will look a lot better just maybe even starting next week. That's why the Jet game is so interesting, because the Jets are not the Ravens. Breece Hall is not Derrick Henry, and Justin Fields is not Lamar Jackson. And I don't think they have a 330-pound fullback on the roster.
They should get one.
So, can you do a much better job than you did yesterday on the Jets running game? A, B, the Ravens are just a very unique matchup. They've got a secret sauce that is maybe exposes the Bills' biggest weakness. And you don't have to play them again until January.
If at all.
Right.
Patrick Ricard. I never thought about him once all night. I never thought about it. Baltimore was running the ball with such ease that it never even came to my mind, like, oh, they don't have their fullback. Like, if they were struggling, right, I think I would have heard it or thought it, but they weren't. So it just never occurred to me last night that they didn't have, or even likely. They used a guy I'd never heard of in some percentage of snaps last night in the fullback spot there.
That wasn't Kohler. That was somebody else.
Right. John McEntee. That's not correct. Let's go to Brad next. Hi, Brad.
Gentlemen, my favorite show on WGR. You guys are great, and I love listening to you every day during Bills season.
Thank you.
2 points. Quote from the article from Catherine Fitzgerald in the Buffalo News today. The quote from Matt Prater. He says, "The biggest thing I noticed when we got down early, 2 scores, no one blinked or skipped a beat. They just kept going, and in other places it didn't seem like that." And so it just shows the mindset of this team. When you think about the Hard Knocks series, how these guys really feel close-knit and like a family, it's really a wonderful thing and a special thing. And another point I want to make, as we're reflecting on the final season here at Highmark Stadium, it looked beautiful on TV. NBC has a great game presentation. Yes. I love the shot of the Albright Knox with the drone. And, I'm excited for the new Highmark, but with so much covered, you're not going to get those big, beautiful shots of all the fans in the stands. And so I'm really trying to soak that up as well in this final season. I get sort of nostalgic for that stuff. But
really?
I think it...
Sorry, Brett. Yeah, I really like hearing that. That it's. I don't know how it's going to be different, but it's going to be different. Like,
right.
I love to go on a night like last night up to the upper deck. I say this a lot with the preseason. Just go sit up there for a quarter, and I'm watching the game, but really I'm just looking at the sky. I'm just looking around. Mm-hmm. And with the roof, or semi-roof, the coverage on the new place, it probably will be different in that way. But I agree with the NBC point too. I thought they might do more with the new place last night. It wasn't a topic really. I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, Tirico would mention it in passing. It's finally your stadium, new place across the street. But yeah, I wasn't in front of the TV for every second of this game because I had some people over, so there was in and out of the living room occasionally. But I don't even know. I didn't feel like I got like speaking of drones, like a buzz through the new place or something. I might have expected that, and I don't think I didn't see it if it happened. Is all I'm saying.
By the way, the Ravens tight end that I didn't remember his name, Zaire Mitchell-Payton is the guy last night. 15 snaps. All right, Ben is next. Hi, Ben.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hi, Ben.
Thanks for having me on. I want to, I know it's kind of been the topic of conversation, and talk about the safety tandem. Taking out, Cole Bishop getting stiff-armed into the turf, I want to give him a pass, I guess, for the sake of this conversation because, it is what it is. It's Derrick Henry. But aside from that, I'm so concerned about this safety tandem. Watching at the game last night, you guys are talking about the upper deck. This is my 5th year with season tickets up there, which is actually it's my favorite place to be for that reason. You can see everything as the play is developing. And seeing the amount of times that those two end up out of position, it's just concerning to me for the reason that the coaching staff seems to be so hell-bent on getting Cole Bishop in there. I don't know if they're seeing something that we're not, in practice, but it's not, showing on the field yet. I'm willing to give him a couple more games in the sense that he hasn't really seen the field time yet. But watching some of the plays back from last night, specifically with Taylor Rapp, the one where DeAndre Hopkins catches that one-handed touchdown in the end zone, there's nobody that comes into Rapp's deep zone other than DeAndre Hopkins. The other two players from the far side of the field are cutting in the flats.
And he's late.
Rapp essentially he stands there and watches it. He's too late to get to the ball. And this is sort of what I feel like all he does is when he's late, he just decides to try to lay a hit on somebody, which he does. But he almost takes out Benford on that hit, and that's a place he needs to be. It's a place that Poyer and or Hyde would have been. And then the other one was one of Derrick Henry's touchdown runs, the one where he goes up the left sideline.
Mm-hmm.
Rapp takes 2 steps backwards despite the entire play showing run, and then takes a horrible angle, and it's just too slow to get there.
And he almost he almost stumbles trying to catch him.
He does, yeah. To me, he's a less athletic Jamal Adams, in my opinion. And I like that he hits hard, but I think we need more at safety, and I think it would be remiss of this coaching staff not to give Jabril Peppers' agent a call. So I'm concerned about the safety tandem. On a positive note, though, I think Keon Coleman is going to be a dog. I was very encouraged by his performance last night, and it was a great showing for the Bills. So appreciate you guys taking my call, and I'll hang up.
Thanks, Ben. Boy, the Coleman touchdown. Remind me, so that pass is tipped?
Yeah, I think it's to Shakir short of the goal line is I think the target there, and Shakir, I think it's him, gets a hand on. Somebody gets a hand on. I think it's Shakir, and it just happens that Coleman is in the right place at the right time there and is able to corral that. But holy God, that's 4th down.
That's 4th down, and they're down 15. It's still 40-25,
right?
And 4 minutes left, so it's got to be game over if that
right.
That's a pretty good bounce. And he's got to be alert to, react to that ball. Not so easy. Yeah. All good points. The Hopkins touchdown. Did you have a moment where you thought it was over? That was mine. What an amazing throw and catch that was, especially catch. And that's where they come around, and then the fan in the end zone takes a couple of shots.
Right.
And then Jackson, the fan has been, I read it, not from a Buffalo report, but banned indefinitely from NFL stadiums. He wasn't named in the report that I read, but come on. Is there a bigger loser move than that? I mean, just come on. But that's when I thought, all right, well, they've got that too.
Right.
They've got that card too. See ya.
Right.
And then you have the Bills score, and then you get the next Henry touchdown, and now I just I texted to my guys, good night.
Right. That was when the shoot was pulled by one person that was at my house watching. She's like, early day, whatever. I'm going home. It would have been easy. I mean, I totally understand anyone leaving, But yeah, I mean, the way the game was going then, that, oh great, now I'm going to be talking about this fan. This is going to be a story now. And I mean, I guess it still could be, but it gets blown out of the water by the comeback and, the fact that the Bills win the game and this fan is mostly a footnote now. Yeah, it really's got to be sweet. I mean, you could hear I wouldn't say multiple times, but I definitely noticed once or twice Baltimore fans chanting MVP after Lamar made plays. Like to get the win in that environment where you're hearing that in your place with the guy that was the MVP last year. I mean, I don't know if Allen or anybody on the Bills noticed it, but I definitely heard it on the TV, and I would imagine you could hear it in the stadium. I mean, that is pretty tasty. For all the talk, I mean, I focused more on it than you certainly did, asking all of our guests, our regular guests last week about, Baltimore. They seem to be pouring a lot into this, right? Revenge and all this. And, to have that, to have the lead, have their fans, however many there were in the stadium, audibly being heard chanting MVP at their quarterback in Josh Allen's house, and then to still come back and win the game is very, very tasty.
No doubt. Well, what the Ravens have to do, or at least what we would be talking about if we talked about them all the time, which sometimes it feels like we do, but if that were our team, it would be like the Bills 2 years ago. And it would be, this collection of game of the year losses, like you said at the beginning today. Like these incredible games the Bills have been in, but they lose them. Philly, Tampa, Minnesota. And, that's almost all of their losses in the last 5 years are these kind of games where they're just like a weird development and they get beat just barely. And that's what like the Ravens discourse is today. There's a lot of, they keep blowing these games. Like they've blown a lot of them. And there's also plenty of, well, that's because they're always winning. Like, you have to be so good to be in position just constantly to have late double-digit leads. You're going to blow more of them than the Cardinals because they're never ahead. You get the point. So what they would have to do, what we'd be talking about is like just sort of blocking that out, I guess, right? I mean, they'll probably be ahead by a lot in most of their games and just being able to somehow finish them. But it is how I think of the Ravens. I mean, I just think that there are these little details that they miss. And, last night it would be more, it wasn't as obvious last night, I would say, but just sort of how they handled their play calls from the 15-point lead on just did not maximize their chances of winning. And then they punt. Jackson's hurting, but on the 4th and 3, I mean, I gotta set up for a 4th down, go for it situation there. I've just got to be set up for it. And I've complained about this for them in the past. How Jackson is not, how he is not handling the ball on those plays. I mean, what's especially dangerous about them is the Jackson-Henry kind of tandem. Well, I mean, the Bills did a great job to pull it off, but I feel like Baltimore misses stuff. And Allen just doesn't. The Bills do not miss these things. I was watching football all day, and there were it was week 1, plenty of times when other quarterbacks were doing things. I'm like, Allen would not have done that. Just little mistakes. Jordan Love, I got to find what it was maybe later, but I wrote something down about Jordan Love. Like you would never see Allen do this, getting a first down or something. Anyway, we know he's great, but it's so many different dimensions and aspects to his greatness.
Yep. Maybe the only I think they got the call wrong, but he could have slid a little later on that one when he slid for what he thought was a first down and they marked him short. I think the replay vindicated that the ball had broken the plane, but whatever. Like that was one instance where he didn't get it exactly right. But still, he's trying to protect himself. He's doing the thing that everyone always pleads with him to do, which is protect himself. He maybe was a little sooner than he should have been, as it turned out. But again, I still think that they probably got the spot wrong anyways, because I think the replays showed that he had it. But
it was a slide, by the way, on Jordan Love. I just found it in my notes, but no follow-up questions, please. I don't have any more for you. The update next, we'll talk some more Football Monday on WGR. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. We'll be right back.
I I told Allie this when I first brought it up to her. Eventually, I confided in her that I'm stopping short of looking in the other conference room to see if there's enough chairs to make all the ones in the room I walk through the same.
Swap them out.
So what I've done is I have all of the kind of chairs. The one kind of chairs are on one side of the table. The other kind of chairs are on the other side of the table. That all matches because I'm insane, and that works for me. The ends of the table, anything goes. I don't really care.
Right. Okay.
So when
You've made that change.
When I see one of the chairs like we're sitting in on the other side of the table, I think, is there someone who always sits over there that wants this chair that I'm annoying?
Yeah.
By moving it and forcing them to sit in this.
Well, they probably yes.
It's just you the whole time.
Probably yes. No, there could be somebody who wants to sit in a certain chair, and they probably all sit in the same seats in those meetings.
You've had a months-long gag running. I went to Puerto Rico and come home, and finally you get
I don't even remember why I brought it up. I didn't have a thought to bring it up. It was right at the beginning of a show one day last week. And do you remember why? I don't remember even why I said it.
You were missing me. That's why.
Something.
Couldn't have been that.
It just sort of came out. I felt like I was probably ruining it. By announcing it.
Nobody said a word to me.
Yeah. Great for me. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. or instead, maybe we're just so into each other that nobody would spoil it. Maybe let's say it was that, and not that nobody was listening.
That was it. Yeah, that had to be it.
Even nobody at work said anything to me.
Right.
I don't. That could be a bad sign. I mean,
right.
The key still works, but
right.
I don't know.
I gotcha. Yeah,
it could be ending soon for me.
Oh man, and I'm over here accusing poor Allie.
Well, not really. I mean, you didn't think it was her. You just didn't have a better idea.
I didn't have a better idea. Like she. I guess I forgot that I told you I have this thing about such detail about the chairs.
I could have given you the weekend on this.
Yeah, you definitely could have. You probably should have.
Somebody then maybe tells you.
Yeah, if I'm out tomorrow or something, maybe somebody says like, "Hey, I heard you, on Friday talking about the chairs. It was Mike."
Should I have done that instead? Should I have just let it hang, until somebody else told him it was me? I don't know. I couldn't have.
I did. I'm trying to remember how long I let this run. We rented a car while we were in Puerto Rico, and it was a Hyundai Santa Fe, which is the same car you drive, but I guess it was a newer model because it doesn't look anything like your car. I described it to my kids because we were picking them up at the airport. I'm like, I'm going to be driving a car that looks like it was built in Minecraft, is how I would say it. And I like the car. I like the design of the car, but it's all sort of square.
Yeah.
It's just a lot, and it's very attractive and it's super comfortable. We all fit. We're huge, and we all fit in there. It was great. I noticed, in fact, I think it was when the kids were flying in and I wanted to tell them what kind of car we were in, and I was in the car. I wasn't driving at the moment, and I was in the driver's seat of the car, and I'm looking around the car for some sign of tell me what you are, car, right? Usually a car has some insignia, the make or model on the dashboard somewhere. This car had no markings inside it at all to tell you what it was.
Okay.
So I noticed that, and then Owen was driving. The day we went and played golf, I had a few beers, and he didn't, so he drove us back from the golf course. And we're sitting at a red light, and I said to him, take a look at your field of vision here for a second, and tell me if you notice anything peculiar about this car. And I said, it has nothing to do with its operational functionality or safety or anything at all. It's aesthetic. Just tell me if you notice anything that seems odd about this car. And he sat there and he looked around, and then the light turned green. He started going, and he's like, this is driving me crazy. Like, what could it be? What is it? And I think I let him, through the night. I think it wasn't until hours later I said, there's no insignia that tells you what make or model car it is inside the car. Even when you start it up, it doesn't say Hyundai, nothing. There was that was kind of strange. Cars usually want you to know what you're driving. So I had a little thing like that with him where I was able to.
You let him hang.
I let him hang for a bit. But
did you put all the chairs back?
Oh yeah, the chairs were all back. Yeah. I couldn't. I couldn't. Well, I can't live.
Of course. Well, thank you. I should thank you for that. Because now I have no There's no chance that on like Monday morning somebody finally, that's enough with the chairs. They're all over the room. What happened in here? And then they get like the building people involved, and maybe there's cameras, and I guess I should be lucky that hasn't happened yet, as far as I know. Who's coming in here at night and moving all the chairs around? Like, that might be a thing you could ask. But
I love that this has been going on for months without me realizing it. It was never dramatic enough for me to notice like I did just now.
It only worked because you went down there twice.
That's right.
And I went in between and moved everything around. And when I come out of that room, I sort of jerk my...
Good news for the Bills following yesterday's comeback victory. No major injuries were picked up. Head coach Sean McDermott also did give us a bit of a minor update on cornerback Tre'Davious White, who missed yesterday with a groin, saying that White is improving, but they'll have more on him and some of the other injuries that they've had throughout camp on Wednesday when the Bills do get back to work, starting to prepare for their road matchup with the Jets on Sunday at 1 p.m. We'll also get more on today and last night when Zach Baccio joins the show in just about a half hour at 6 p.m. Week 1 will wrap up with Monday Night Football. Bears hosting the Vikings. Kickoff just after 8:15. Our coverage, though, right here on WGR. We'll get underway at 7 p.m. 49ers made some roster moves today. Right tackle Colt McKivitz signed a 3-year, $45 million extension. $27 million of that is guaranteed. They're also bringing in wide receiver Kendrick Bourne on a 1-year deal. The Giants will continue to roll with Russell Wilson at quarterback, at least for another week when they take on Dallas. That, according to head coach Brian Daboll. And then Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says wide receiver Xavier Worthy is considered day-to-day with a separated shoulder. Rehab and wearing a brace are the expectation. However, surgery is still a possibility. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Ed had a big game. You know, you could feel his play out there, right? Whether it was the run game, the pass game, a couple good hits on the quarterback, a couple big plays in the run game behind the line of scrimmage, and then forcing the fumble. Really, the entire team, he didn't quit. There was no quit in that team and in our team, and that's a good thing as we look to move forward.
Sean McDermott today. Sal Capaccio will join us at 6 with more on what the coaches had to say, and, of course, the incredible start to the season last night. 41-40. Scorigami, if you don't know what that is, means it's a unique score in NFL history. And last week we were talking about Scorigami. We were talking about what if the Bills won this game 2-0? And how would you feel? And I happened to have it in front of me. I looked up, like the lowest scoring Bills Scorigami game is 10-5. 1988, they lost to the Buccaneers 10-5. No other game has ever been 10-5, and no other game has ever been 41-40, which is a little surprising.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think 41-40 sounds like a score. I would, not always, but a lot of times when you hear there's a scorigami, it's a pretty uncommon score. And 41-40 doesn't sound that. It sounds like that should have happened 100 times.
There could be an 8, a 5.
Right, yeah.
An 11.
Right.
41-40. Love it. What a great score. Here is Paul next. Hi, Paul.
Hey, guys. Great win. Thanks for taking the call.
You're welcome.
But you know what's bizarre about all this? And I still have to pinch myself every time I watch this guy play. But, for so many years going through the drought, the only thing that ever felt inevitable with these games was losing. And it last night, when after the fumble, after the touchdown, and then the punt, it was this weird feeling of inevitability. Allen's going to take him down. He's going to score. And it felt like watching remember those mid-season random games when Brady and the Patriots would be playing Roethlisberger or Breeze. And it seemed like no matter what was going to happen at the end of the game, Brady was it was just inevitable. The Patriots were going to find a way to win. And I can't believe it's us. And it's just so enjoyable to be on this end of it for a change. And again, I know they got trucked for 3/4 of this game, but it just, once everything started falling into place, it just felt inevitable. And it's just a really nice feeling to have that be us for a change, after all those years of suffering. So that's it. Just wanted to say that, and keep up the great work, guys.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's right on. thank you for punting is code for this game is over. Like, we got it. You know, it does feel that way. It isn't always the case. And how many, was it multiple inches or just 1 inch that Hamilton missed the blocked field goal by? Like, how about that if this is how that ends?
Dude, I'm telling you, I still think he got a hand on it. It could be an optical illusion. I like just glancing blow. The one shot, I think, from behind, there's a low angle from behind that I thought showed it, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he came right through. They got to button that up. That's Deion Walker, rookie out there, and he steps to the guy on the edge and just allows Hamilton a clean shot in there. I mean, I think he had to jump a little to get through, and maybe that's the only thing that saved the Bills, is that it's a bit of a delay for him getting through there. Because, man, he was so close to blocking that. I did not notice it. We're watching it live. I'm so focused on the goalposts.
Yeah.
Right? And the ball, because those are the most important things. The ball's got to go through the goalposts. I did not even see how close it was to being blocked until they showed a replay.
I think you see him jump after he just misses, like sort of in a, I can't believe he just sort of jumps toward the Baltimore sideline knowing the game is over. And how close he really was, if I remember that right. Here is Jack next. Hi, Jack.
Hey, guys. Just wanted to thanks for letting me call you guys and getting in on this. But, here's how I look at it. I've watched these Bills. I've been there. I lived in Buffalo my whole life up until a few years ago. And I remember going to the games and watching the games where, you seen the fans filtering out early fourth quarter, game's done, it's over. That ain't this team. We have our last home opener in the stadium, and I think Josh Allen calling out the fans for leaving is rightfully so. I mean, this is our home stadium. Your last time you're going to have a home opener and you're walking out on, granted, 40-25, but this team showed no heads down. This team was just play game plan. Yeah, we got ran all over by Derrick Henry, and Lamar broke his. I mean, but they were a three-headed monster. That was it. They didn't pass the ball around too much. But this team that we have, they're all dogs. There's no quit in this team, and it's good to see finally for once where you can go in and you're down 40-25, and your gut is telling you it ain't over. It ain't over. This is what we've waited for. This is the season. And I hope Bills fans that are there, because I'll tell you what, I wished I could have been there in that stadium last night. I'd have gave my right arm for it. But I'm going to tell you what, don't walk out on another game this season because you don't know what you're going to miss. It's all magic.
Thanks, Jack. Counterpoint, it's so late. Like, people have jobs in the morning and kids, and it's like, it's an hour to get home if you live even like where I do from the stadium in traffic. If the Bills are winning 40-25, I'm in my car. Like, it doesn't even matter.
Right.
Tell me that I missed a big comeback. Okay, well, I got to sleep at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's real life.
I'm fine with it. I've left things earlier than I'd like to admit. I don't know that I've ever left a thing early and had something like that happen where I'm really regretting that I left, which is why you feel okay leaving, because it's rare that, if you're demoralized enough to want to leave a pro sports event with a team that you love as much as most of these fans love this team, it's probably really bad, and the chances of it happening in your favor coming back are probably pretty slim, and they were last night. So I don't know. I don't mind Allen taking the shot. I certainly don't. I'm not going to. You shouldn't leave. I'd be duplicitous because I've done it. So tough one. If you got to your car and went, oh, but I totally understand leaving. I thought I gave this a decent amount of thought today while I was out on a bike ride. Would I do this? Yes, I've done it. So I don't know. I'm not going to be hard on anyone who left. But I also don't mind Allen saying, hey, you should hang around. It's his right to do that.
It's all fine.
He came through.
Tim's next. Hi, Tim.
Hey, just thanks for taking my call, guys.
Yep.
Hey, I was wondering, did anyone bring up yet
the fact that a lot of these guys hadn't played at all in preseason, and maybe there was a little bit of rust that needed to be knocked off, and they needed some time to get the timing back and just get that game feel back. I mean, I watched it, and I was like, okay, mistake after mistake after mistake, but like Allen hadn't played at all in preseason. A lot of these guys, a lot of the starters played very, very little. So you get to the midway through the game, they started to pick it up a little bit. And then the fourth quarter, they started to roll. And, I mean, my thought is next game, look out because they're going to continue.
Yeah, I don't know. This point comes up all the time, and it's just like year to year, team to team, it just doesn't really seem to correlate. So were there that many mistakes? Defensively, they got kind of blown out. Offense held up for the most part in this game. I never thought they scored a touchdown immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, were they rusty when he zips that into Kincaid for the 7-0? It's just, I think it can happen circumstantially, but it doesn't have to. It's not a generalization I'd ever want to make. I could see the Ravens. I mean, the Bills were on the field for 85 plays, and maybe you're not in your primo game shape because it's the opener. Cincinnati.
Right. They played like crazy in the preseason, and they had 7 points or 7 yards in the second half of their game against Cleveland.
Yeah, they made an effort this year to play Burrow and those guys in the preseason, and the result was the same. They won.
The Chiefs played their guys, and they looked like dog meat on Friday night.
Yeah.
Mostly. So, yeah, I mean, it's anecdotal. You can pick and choose. I'm sure there are examples of teams that do it the way the caller's suggesting and get off to good starts, and that's validation. I don't know what it'll all end up meaning, if the Bills will change their course. This is the first time that Allen hasn't played a single snap in the summer before the opener. I don't think that was what I was seeing myself.
Sean's next. Hi, Sean.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good, man.
Good question. So, you think that call at halftime when we had 1 second left, mysteriously 1 second left, and maybe even that touchback, do you think that Buffalo's finally getting some of those calls that maybe Mahomes or Brady would have got in the past?
I mean, they're the right calls. So I don't know if you're thinking it's your year because that went your way. I don't know. I don't think the Bills have necessarily been in arrears in getting those calls all these years either. So
I'm not a guy who sort of works by this premise in the first place, right? I mean, sort of the implication is they usually get screwed, but not anymore. I don't think they usually get screwed. I think great players and great teams get calls, if that's not saying different. And these were not, to me, examples of that happening. Baltimore's great. It's just, you said they were right.
Yeah, the machinations of the league to review those calls, whatever's in place, the right calls were made. It'd be another thing if they gave the Bills, like, well, actually, we're going to put a second back on Argle-Bargle. Like, what? No. I mean, they had footage of the ball, in control and the player out of bounds, and okay, we're going to put a second back on. Same thing with the touchback. Like, the guy did slide barely. I mean, just barely, but he did. Like, okay, letter of the law, that's correct. The Bills have been victim of bad calls, but every team in the league is a victim of bad calls. I mean, it happens all the time. So they got a couple of things that went their way, but they weren't gifts. They were correct.
Third game ever where the Bills allowed 40 points and won. One was last year.
Detroit.
And the other was one of my favorite games, 89 Houston, the Astrodome.
That's an overtime game?
That's an overtime game.
Right.
47-41, Reed. So much happened. That game is bonkers. Houston has a field goal. The game has just been just crazy. Like the Bills had a defensive touchdown tally maybe. Like you've just got all these huge plays, 41 all, and Houston is kicking a field goal to win it, and they missed, but the Bills were offside. So they got to kick the shorter field goal to win it, and they missed again. Zendejas. That's an awesome game. 89 Bills-Oilers. They also scored 42 in a loss last year, the Ram game.
Right.
Crazy times. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after this break. Sal joins us at 6. This is WGR. Monday Night Football tonight is Minnesota at Chicago. And apparently they're having trouble with the field in Chicago, Soldier Field. There have been a bunch of concerts there. A guy I know was at one like last week, System of a Down. He went to a concert there on the field. And it looks like they're having a tough time like getting it ready for tonight. Any excuse for that?
Stop having concerts.
I mean, just whatever.
Stop.
It's the NFL.
Right. No, there's no excuse for having an unsuitable playing surface.
Thank you. We agree.
It didn't seem like Friday was that bad. There was some talk on that broadcast that they knew it was bad last year, Brazil, and that they came in and like, the word sewing was used. I think they worked to make the field passable, better than it was last year anyway. And I didn't notice it being a big hassle on Friday night.
Man, the Chiefs, I know not to get too excited, but no Rice, no Worthy for some amount of time, dislocated shoulder. If it's any worse, it's the year. Like if he needs surgery, that's the year. They're saying so far that he doesn't. Still, I mean, I think he misses a couple games. Kelsey had one play. He had one catch and then nothing when they needed him. And there was just like Andrews last night, actually, the Ravens didn't need him. They were scoring at will, but Andrews had one catch in the game. I would have liked him for them late when they needed, something, a little bit of a curveball. But Kelsey, it's kind of a famous Chiefs play, isn't it? Can't you see that Kelsey touchdown kind of all the time with Mahomes? That happened. That could have been anybody.
Yeah, I did not think he looked good running around. Just running around. I just didn't think he looked good. He looked to me old and slow. But
go figure.
That's just me. I mean, all the talk about he's in this incredible shape and he worked so hard. I'm not disputing that he did all that. I just sometimes when you get to a certain age, when you play pro sports at the level that these guys are playing at, you can work all you want. You're just not gonna. It just ain't there anymore. And I wonder if we're not there with him. I mean, it's 1 week, but I did not think he looked nimble.
I just wonder what they are now, right? I mean, Pacheco did nothing. Rice is gone. Worthy's gone. Kelsey's bad, maybe. Old, at least. That's a fact. It's just Juju and Hollywood Brown? That's the Chiefs' offense now? They play the Eagles this week.
Yeah.
At home, and they are a slight underdog. The Bills and the Chiefs, Baltimore went off 1-point favorite, or 1.5. We had for most of the offseason, the Bills are going to be favored in every game. They were not favored in the opener.
To the opener, right?
But they've won and covered, of course. And the Chiefs also, looks like for their home opener, they will be, at least as of now, an underdog for Philadelphia.
Herbert looked pretty good Friday night. When he runs, he's not as dangerous as Allen, but he can do damage. Like he had a 19-yard run to seal the game on 3rd and 15 or whatever that was.
Yeah. Where was the defense?
But he just did you see Jones went inside, didn't contain, and then there was a sideline thing when the linebacker was in his ear about it. Drew Tranquil, I think, was the player that was like sort of barking at Jones, and they didn't have to get separated or anything, but it was running a little hot over there.
How about that? Here's John with us. Hi, John.
Hey, guys. I just had a question. I've been working all day, get to watch too much of the Victory Monday stuff. There was a moment in the game that kind of bugged me, and I don't know if I have it wrong or what, but when Keon Coleman was forced out of bounds on that 2-point try, thought the rule stated that if you're forced out, you can come back in and make a play on the ball as long as you establish yourself back on the field. Now, that a huge moment. Yeah, and another missed call by the officials. That was one of the most egregious ones I saw. I didn't see too many others, and I know we won the game. Just be happy we won the game. Who cares?
I think you might have the rule wrong. I haven't heard any criticism of this call, and I know I understand what you're saying, but I don't think he can be the first on an offensive play, the first person to touch it. I don't know. I didn't hear anyone else say that the call wasn't right.
I heard Eric Wood. He was on the show that precedes ours before he was on with us this afternoon, and I heard him talking to Chris and Steve about that play, and he thought, like the caller, if you're pushed out, you can reestablish and then still be the first person to touch it. But if you go out on your own, you can't.
Isn't that what he did?
And that I thought he was pushed.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but maybe what they judged is that he went out on his own, and that's why the rule was interpreted or was implied the way that it.
He took the scenic route. I mean, he went route. I went with route that time.
I'm not sure I have a handle on exactly how that is supposed to be ruled.
And I'm not either, Sean. But I just haven't heard anybody else bring it up. And I wonder if, you have.
That's right. Yeah, I mentioned it because Eric was talking about it with Chris and Steve. But
maybe because the Bills won the game, I'm wrong here, and the caller's right. Not sure. We will talk to Sal next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. I had
Good news for the Bills following yesterday's win over Baltimore. No major injuries picked up yesterday. Head coach Sean McDermott also gave us a bit of a minor update for cornerback Tre'Davious White when he spoke with the media earlier today, saying that White is improving, but we'll have more on Wednesday when the Bills do get back to work as they start preparation for their road matchup with the Jets on Sunday at 1 p.m. We'll get more on today, and of course last night, Sal Capaccio joins the show next. Week 1, though, is going to wrap up tonight with Monday Night Football. Bears host the Vikings. Kickoff just after 8:15. Our coverage, though, right here on WGR will get underway at 7 o'clock. 49ers made some roster moves today. Right tackle Colton McKivitz signed a 3-year, $45 million extension. $27 million of that is guaranteed. They're also bringing in wide receiver Kendrick Bourne on a 1-year deal. The Giants will keep rolling with Russell Wilson at quarterback, at least for now, when they take on Dallas. Head coach Brian Daboll did confirm that today. And Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says wide receiver Xavier Worthy is considered day-to-day with his separated shoulder. Rehab and a brace, though, are the expectations. Surgery, though, is not out of the realm of possibility. And Sports Talk on WGR is presented by Paramount Plus. Sylvester Stallone is back in the original hit series Tulsa King. This season, Dwight faces his most dangerous adversary yet, forcing him to fight for everything he's built and protect his empire. Stream the new season of Tulsa King on Sunday, September 21st, exclusively on Paramount Plus. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Seems right to put last night's Bills game on the list of those you may never forget. A classic we'll be talking about for many years. There are becoming a pretty good number of those, and you can't remember them all. I mean, I feel like each one of these reduces the others by a tiny bit. But last year, the stadium opening night, the comeback, 41-40. What a great night. Sal Capaccio with us now on the West Her hotline. How about this game sort of historically for you, Sal? What was it like, and how do you think it'll be remembered? Of course it will be.
Yeah, one of the certainly most memorable games I've ever been a part of as a professional, as a fan growing up in the stands. I've always said the two most incredible sporting events, well, I shouldn't say, the two most incredible football games. I was at the 6 overtime UConn-Syracuse game. That's up there too. But two most incredible football games I've ever attended. One was the Cleveland playoff game, which I know you were at, Mike, as well, 89 divisional round. And the other was 13 seconds, right? And those are the two, and unfortunately, two losses for the Bills, but just the unbelievable games those were. Now, we've had some games over the years here which have been pretty incredible, like the Vikings game where you just can't believe how things happen near the end, right? This, though, for the Bills to come on top and the euphoria in that stadium, to be on that end of it, you had a caller earlier just say, you know, your Bills always were on the other end of that. So for that reason, I definitely put it up there with one of the most memorable, crazier games I've ever been a part of.
Sal, how noticeable to you, if it was noticeable at all, maybe this is news to you, watching at home, I could hear what I assume were Ravens fans chanting MVP at different times during the game when Jackson was making plays. And I wonder if you noticed that, and like that only enhances the reputation this game will grow with over time. I mean, certainly how this season ends up going for the Bills. Do they get the 1 seed? Do they go all the way to the Super Bowl? Do they have the 1 seed in part because they beat Baltimore in this game? Then we'll always remember it, of course. But the fact that the Ravens were so, it seemed, I don't want to say reportedly. I mean, I saw plenty of quotes from guys. Like, they wanted this game. They wanted to set the record straight, which I think is a little absurd for a team with the kind of goals they should have, just like the Bills. Like, I don't need vengeance for a playoff loss in September. I need it in January. But whatever. They poured a lot into it. And then you've got the specter of it looks like a blowout in their favor, and the fans there are chanting at Lamar MVP in Josh Allen's place. Man, the fact that the Bills came back and smacked it, I wonder if Allen noticed that and if that was a part of why he was so fired up on the field after the game. Like, he's screaming at Matt Prater after this game is over at one point on the field when they're hugging it all out. Did you notice fans chanting MVP for Lamar?
Very little of the chant. I did hear a little bit of it. But I don't want to take away from your point, because I did hear a lot of Ravens fans. And it was noticeable in the national anthem. I don't know if you know, but when you go to Baltimore, because of the Orioles and the O's, at the end of the national anthem, when the word O comes out of the person singing, the crowd in Baltimore fans, they say, "Oh," like that. And that was very noticeable. It was noticeable in the AFC divisional playoff game. So when I heard that, I'm like, ooh, they're here. I saw them when we were doing our pregame roundtable and pregame show out in the parking lot. I didn't hear the MVP chants as much. I heard a lot for Josh. So I can't speak on if Josh heard it or it fueled him or anything like that. Now, the vengeance part, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, though. They wanted this game for that. I mean, but anytime you're left with such a sour taste in your mouth and you feel like you should have won and put a team away and get to what your goal was, which in that get to the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl, you're going to want to do that. It actually reminded me, you know, when the Colts came here, guys, that was what they wanted to do because they had just lost the year before to the Bills.
Right.
They lost in the playoffs the year before, and I remember that was a big deal for them, that they wanted to make sure they kind of, as you say, set the record straight and kind of atone for that loss, and they did it in a big way. So I understand when that happens with teams. Didn't the Bills years ago open up Sunday Night Football with Alex Van Pelt the year after home run throwback? And that was like a talking point going into the year. So I can understand that. Whatever you can use, whether it's manufactured or real, I think you try to use that.
Johnson, but yes, that's right. 2000
Thank you.
Opener with Tennessee.
Yes.
Well, for me, I guess, Sal, I'd have to say, even though the Bills come out on top here, when a 15-point comeback happens in such little time, you think about how the team that lost. Like, what didn't Baltimore do to be able to close it out with a 90% plus win probability? What would you say to their strategy or what happened with the Ravens late here? Of course, there's the Oliver play on Henry for a fumble. That's a football play. That's not something necessarily that Baltimore, where there was a lapse. But I don't know. What would you say about how the Ravens handled the last, I guess, 5 minutes, or even include their previous possession if you want, where they were stopped?
Great question. I think it's a pretty deep answer for a lot of things because of what the Bills did as well. And I say that, Mike, because I just want you to know, if you want to talk about it, I asked Sean McDermott specifically about the two-point conversion decisions being in that situation. And, there's a lot of what you could do in those situations. And it relates to what you just asked, because Sean said when they first scored, when they were down 15 and they score the first time, they go for two. And the reason is now I've always kind of thought you go for one there because then you kind of can still make it a one-score game. If you don't make it, it's still a two-score game. Like, why would you do that? You want to get yourself into a one-score game. Sean said today, just a little while ago, he said the first time they did it was because there was a high-scoring game, and they wanted to know, hey, if we miss it, because we have some time on the clock, we can still need to know what we need to do, right? Then the second time it happened, they're down 15. Now they go for one, and here's where your answer is. He said, we wanted to make sure they had to play offense. And I agree with that. And in that situation,
make it a one-score game. Yeah.
Make it. You make sure you put a little pressure on them to have to play the game. They can't just ride it out, right? They can't. And the Ravens had to make decisions. They had to make decisions on how to play it. And I think they should have, kept Lamar Jackson in shotgun and kept running that read option because they were having success. They didn't do that. I think they just really felt in the first play, if you look back, so the Bills get the ball 7-1-6. They got the ball 7:16 left. They go down, they score. They then give the ball to the Ravens, and Lamar gets the first down. And then on the next play, that's when Henry fumbles. He's in I formation. I think shotgun versus under center is key here for me. If you're in I formation, you don't have that read option ability. Now, you can boot with Lamar, but that's not what they do. That when he leaves, when he gets out the gate, it's because they're running they're out of shotgun and running the option. When they're in I formation, everybody is loaded up to stop Derrick Henry, and that's what the Bills did. And because they had so much around the football, now suddenly Ed Oliver's scraping at it, they get the ball out. So now the Bills, they go down and score again. Ravens get the ball back again. They line up in I formation, and he gets 1 yard. Now they do go to shotgun, but what do? They're not gonna throw because an incompletion stops the clock. If you're the Bills, you can still creep up and say, I don't care, you're in shotgun. He's either running it or it's a short pass. Well, guess what they did? They handed it off to Zay Flowers, right? So to answer your question to me, I just think the Ravens played right into the Bills' hands once the Bills said, we're gonna make you play football, and you're gonna have to make decisions. And the Ravens' decision was, we'd rather try to run this clock out instead of trying to get a first down.
That's all really good. Jackson takes a big hit from Oliver on third down.
He does.
The pass to Hopkins. I thought, if I'm Baltimore, I'm not giving the ball back here, but he wasn't, in perfect shape there after that hit. What else did you see on their fourth down decision?
I saw Bills defenders guarding the first down line and saying, we cannot give this up, and Christian Benford made a great open field tackle. I mean, that's what you pay that guy to do. It's not just being a really good corner. It's making sure he understands the situation and what they're trying to accomplish. The Ravens were they did not want to throw the ball, deeper than, 10 yards and risk some sort of turnover, but even an incomplete pass because it's going to stop it. They wanted to keep the clock running. They wanted to make sure the Bills had to use timeouts or they could have the clock run. And I think actually in that situation, that might have been 2-minute warning anyway right after that play, right? But the Ravens were certainly not in a position that they wanted to take a risk. They didn't want to take a chance. They just turned the ball over a little while ago. So I guess at the end of the day, if I'm in Baltimore, I'm saying they just played too conservative. They basically did exactly what the Bills wanted. They stayed conservative, and ultimately they gave the ball back to the Bills. Now, there is a debate. Should they have gone for it? Sure, we could be in Baltimore right now debating, and we could all do it anyway in Buffalo, should the Ravens have gone for it. But Lamar was hurting. I didn't know and see until today what happened there on that play with that Oliver. I know some people want a late hit. I didn't think so. From what I see, takes one step, and Lamar actually steps into him a little bit as he releases the ball. He just lays a hit on him. He doesn't hit him in the head, right? I mean, so I didn't think that at all. But Christian Benford made that play, guys. Christian Benford made that play. And I don't know if he gets the first down anyway because there's another defender there, but it was a really nice open field tackle.
Sal, the throws down the field, the Palmer throw, the Coleman throw that got them ultimately in position to kneel and kill the clock and then kick the field goal. I felt like the Bills almost had to be forced at gunpoint to throw the ball down the field. Now, I don't know if that's Brady and the play calling. We talked with Eric Wood a couple hours ago, and he mentioned how, it could be Allen switching to different looks. He's thinking, here comes a blitz, so a quick receiver screen, that kind of thing. But, man, once they started going downfield, and it stands to reason that Baltimore would have been defending against that more so than they would have been earlier in the game, I would think, although I don't know this, but it would just stand to reason. You're trying to not give up chunks there, and all they did was get chunks. I mean, what a throw by Allen to Palmer. Holy cow, Sal.
I agree completely. I remember last year there was a throw against the Jags. I believe they played the Jags at night, or Tennessee. I can't remember which game it was. Early season.
Jacksonville was a night game.
Thank you. And Josh throws a ball near sideline scoreboard end, so going to the left side, and it's to Ty Johnson right in the corner of the end zone. And it was one of the most incredible passes I've ever seen, coming right at me because I'm standing right there at the pylon. And after that game, I went up to Josh in the locker room and I said, "Holy cow! That's one of the greatest passes I've ever seen. How I don't know how you do it." And he said to me in that moment, I'll never forget it. He goes, "Yeah, I kind of discovered something in a little technique this week, and I had to tinker with it a little bit, and really was dialed in on that throw." And I'm thinking, how good are you to say something like that, right? When you say that little thing. So I watched the throw to Palmer, and I'm thinking, is this the same kind of thing here? And I think back to the videos we saw at Hard Knocks and Chris Hess and how he's tinkering with all of these little throws. And I mentioned to Chris Hess, I saw Chris Hess a couple weeks ago, and I talked to him about this, and he said to me, "Sal, what people don't understand is Josh is still ascending, and he's always getting better and working on little things that people don't understand. And even at his elite level, he's still getting better, and people don't realize that because of those little tiny details." Well, here we go. Here's this throw. You haven't seen that all game. There's that throw right over the top of the defender. Now, and I said to Josh after the game, "Oh my God, again, here you go. You did it." Now, he didn't say anything about the technique, but he said, "I saw him man-to-man. I was Jair Alexander. I knew I could fit the ball over the top." And I said, "I just, put it in there and line. Obviously, Josh made a great route. So I just think everything was really dialed in at that time.
I know fans have probably seen everything. I mean, if you're on social media, you're seeing different highlights and different angles of different plays. But what really stands out to me on that throw is how much it looks like him from the Hard Knocks thing. Sal, it's so, in a game, That's right. is so, I'm going to use your word, intentional. Like, his mechanics on that throw are, like, created in a lab. And he's on the field in the cauldron of this game trying to mount, like, a game-winning field goal drive with no timeouts. And he is just absolutely precision locked in mechanically. It's so impressive.
Do you know what I think about when he told me that answer? That specifically he mentioned Jair Alexander. Like Josh mentioned him, right? Talking about it a little bit. Like he was there. And it was just interesting. He's like, yeah, I saw Alexander on him and I threw it. And maybe he's just noting, the different matchups. That's fine. But maybe that's part that's intentional as well, right? That you're just, you have a guy that hadn't been practicing, hadn't been playing, and all those little things matter. And then Josh fits that ball in there. Remind me of that San Francisco throw a few years ago on Monday night in Arizona.
That's exactly what I said earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, I didn't even hear you do that. That's great. Like he knew exactly where to put it. But that wasn't. I mean, guys, the throw to Ty Johnson that Ty didn't catch, incredible, right? I mean, like incredible to put it right there. And by the way, while we're saying this, the throw that Lamar made to DeAndre Hopkins was unbelievable as well. Incredible. Just the one spot that he could put that ball for DeAndre Hopkins to catch it.
Sal Capaccio here for just a few more minutes. What do you have to say about the defense last night?
They have to be better at stopping the run. We just talked with Bobby Babich, and he knows that. And he was very adamant by saying we are going to be, here's the word again, Bulldog, very intentional about correcting that, right? Like he was very adamant about that. One of the things that's happened here, though, is, and this is not an excuse, right? I mean, I say things like this. I don't want anybody to think I'm getting an excuse, but, you analyze these games, and when you see it play out, we're like, why is this happening to the Bills? Well, in this particular game, the Bills did not have a ton of time on task for some of these guys. I know you had a caller call up about preseason. I think that's part of it, but also the injuries, right? Cole Bishop with Taylor Rapp and where they're playing and all that. And one thing I noticed in this game, the Ravens did a really good job. And I asked Bobby Babich about this, and he said, no doubt. And he agreed with me. From my eyes, I said, the Ravens did a really good job of up-tempo, going quick, not giving the Bills time to set up. And in that environment, when it's really loud and the Bills' defense has to communicate, they have to see what they're doing and then communicate. And the Ravens didn't give them a chance to do that. So that's why a lot of the timing was off, I think, from some of their blitzes. I think the Bills were kind of – I'm not going to say not ready, but they were still kind of processing what the Ravens were trying to do and lining up. And the Ravens, they didn't use a lot of motion in those situations. They went up to the ball, they snapped it, and said, okay, here we come, bam. And the Bills didn't react quick enough. And I think that's an area where the Bills are hurting this week because of the lack of reps together in preseason.
Yeah, an example of that is the play that fans will probably remember because the way it was presented on the telecast was, when do you see a player blitz from that far back? Cole Bishop was way back, and I think the Ravens quick snapped and surprised everyone, and he still came. But I imagine that the design, he's supposed to be creeping, but there was no creeping because Baltimore went so quickly, and then he still just blitzed anyway, which was futile because he was like 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. In that case, maybe a more experienced player, here's time on task, would say, oh, they snapped quick. It's stupid for me to blitz. Let me find something else to do here that might be useful, right? Cover somebody, I don't know, get to an open space and just try to, make yourself a factor on the play because blitzing from where he blitzed from on that play was utterly pointless.
Sal, we got to wrap this up. I just want you to know this because you love a nugget. We had nuggets the other day. You love a nugget. Tonight, it's Minnesota-Chicago. Every touchdown scored in the league so far in week 1 has been on a rush or a catch. All offensive touchdowns. Never in the history of the league, when 14 games or more were played, did an entire week go by without a defensive touchdown or a return. So that's on the line tonight. I don't know how much time Aikman will spend on this, but that record, sort of record, is on the line tonight. You might want to know that.
Thank you. I'll be on the lookout.
I might behave accordingly on my gambling app of choice with this information.
I could see either team scoring on defense pretty equally. Right. All right. Thank you, Sal.
You got it, guys.
There you go. That's our man Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. His appearance is brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Minnesota, small favorite. 1.5. Yep. 1.5, 43.5. Bet Sweats this morning was talking about Bills Jets. How it went, I don't know which direction. They saw 6.5 for the Bills. It was 8.5 last week, the look ahead at the Jets, but the Jets got a little bit of
It makes sense
respect.
that the Jets got, the Jets were good. Very, very good in a loss. A loss, albeit, but still very good.
That'll be, the talking point with the spread, the Bills game, that whole Sam and Joe business about running through the 7. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about that later this week with them. Earlier today, Eric Wood joined us from his home in Louisville, recapping last night's game, the emotions, the comeback itself, and more. We'll have that conversation for you coming up. Football Monday continues. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back with Eric Wood here on WGR.